Yes. It's another beautiful day, wonderful evening. This is Impact Masters Podcast in collaboration with Africa Stocking Podcasts, coming to you live and direct at Africa Stocking headquarters. And today, it's your host, Michael Kimathi, or if you want, MK. Coming to you today is one and only the tech gurus themselves. There are two of them today. These are the movers and shakers of Africa, and I'll tell you why in a bit. In the house, we have Tesh Mbaabu. Tesh is an African serial technology entrepreneur who lives to blend commerce and technology. He is the co-founder and CEO of MarketForce, a B2B commerce platform that empowers over 200,000 neighborhood merchants across 5 African markets to source, order and pay for inventory, access financing, and earn more by reselling financial services in their communities. Talk of kiosk, he is a partner at Mesozi, an information technology holding company offering and investing in tech-enabled solutions across several industries and markets in Africa. As an avid adventure seeker, Tesh also co-founded Cloud9 XP, an African leisure experience booking platform which exited to HotelOnline in 2020. I don't know how much it is though, but we're gonna get into that. Prior to founding Mesozi, Tesh was the founder and creative director of a graphic, web and digital design agency, Tesh Technologies Limited, TeshTeq, a venture he started at the age of 18. How old is he? Through his personal blog, he shares about his journey as a technology entrepreneur, the adventure he undertakes, the people he meets, the book he is reading, and what he is learning. This guy can tweet. I follow him myself. Tesh is a Forbes Africa 30 under 30. Ponder about that. A Choiseul 100 Africa Laureates. Business Daily top 40 under 40 men Kenya. CIO Africa top 45 most influential men in digital transformation. Top 10 Africa business heroes. Harambean, Schmidt features, Westerwelle, Alibaba, and UN fellow. Chief, how old are you? He is a graduate of computer science from the University of Nairobi, the one and only, the University of Nairobi. And today, we have Mesongo calling Sibuti. I don't know why he dropped Collins though. We're going to get into that a bit. A forward-thinking techpreneur, specializing in the design, development, and scaling of technology-enabled platforms with a special interest in the field of B2B services and last-mile delivery. I have spent the last 5 years, that's what he says, building e-commerce and banking solutions for neighborhood stores who contribute about 80% of retail transactions in Africa, that is MarketForce. And it goes without saying he's a CTO at MarketForce. Oh, guys, how are you? How are you guys?
Very good.
You good?
Very good. Oh, yes.
You good to be here?
Oh, yes.
Nice. Welcome at Africa Stocking Podcast in collaboration with Impact Masters Podcast, where we showcase, we celebrate African entrepreneurs, especially in tech, because for us, tech is the big game changer in the environment of 54 countries across the continent. And you guys have done wonders, I would say. So you want to say hi to our listeners, introduce yourself. Maybe I didn't represent you well.
Thank you for having us on board. Very happy to be talking to you, given that, we've known each other, from back in the campus days in the University of Nairobi.
Yeah, man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very happy to see that we are still shaping the narrative.
Yeah.
Really excited to be on the podcast today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Very proud, technology entrepreneur, and a former villager that is still transforming. So I would say a living testimony on what technology can do to all the villagers out there.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you consider yourself a villager, and I like that, by the way, because you'll start from all the way back. But I would love Tesh to say hi to our listeners. And,
Thanks, Michael, for having us. It's good to be here, and for the first time, Mesongo and I are sharing a platform. So thanks for making that happen. It's very few people who can get us to do that, and testament to the relationship we've had for many, many years, stemming back from the university.
It's my pleasure, man. It's like an honor. Yeah, I'll say that.
Thank you, MK.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tesh. Although, guys are hearing us saying all the way back from the campus days. I know these chiefs when they were still in school, and they were like these guys who, okay, if we go back, I would like us to start from all the way back, but maybe to give the context is I knew Tesh by asking me to help him strategize the campus politics.
Yes.
And then I came to know Collins when they were doing, is it Mesozi? Or Mesozi was not yet there?
It was Mesozi.
Plus Tech, TeshTeq, yes, right? The chief had a shop in town selling amazing stuff, and also, doing what you can do best as a student and also as an entrepreneur. And it came all the way to where we are. But we'll get to where we are right now. I want us to go all the way back even before campus. Chief, where did you come from? Mesongo.
Yes, Mesongo. I was born and raised in a place called Kuria.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a minority tribe at the edge of Kenya, just off the Masai Mara, at the border of Kenya and Tanzania.
Yeah.
That's where I was born and raised, essentially.
Yeah.
The reason you had me calling myself a villager is because, the time that I first stepped into a city, because Nairobi was in 2011 for my campus.
Same here. Yeah. So how was that like in primary school, how was that like?
Yeah, so I would say like, for me growing up really, is I grew up in an environment where, I knew and actually believed that education is going to be my savior.
Yeah.
That was the starting point.
Yeah.
And over time, of course, I grew up to rediscover myself and then go into entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
But, I wouldn't say I was born an entrepreneur.
Okay.
To best describe it, I grew into entrepreneurship.
So you're this guy who knew that if I don't get an A, I'm doomed. I either get a few livestock here and there, cattle, and maybe 3, 4, 5 wives, and follow the path of my traditional ancestors. Why was it so important for you to make it out of that place?
I think the simple word for it is you just don't know what you don't know. Because growing up, everybody's always motivated by being able to create value.
Yes.
In some way or another, because that gives you a distinction as an important member of society.
Yeah.
Now, based on the environment where you actually do grow up, that distinction is always different. What do you consider an important member of society?
Yes.
So, because in the community where I grew up, most of the people were either, subsistent farmers and livestock keepers, and then everybody else who was a little bit educated. So you're either a teacher here, you're a doctor, you're an engineer, which is just the umbrella for anything engineering, including welding.
So if you're a guy of Chomelea, for those who speak Swahili, which is a widely spoken language in Africa, if you're a welder, you're called an engineer. And one of our biggest politicians is referred to as a welder.
I know.
Yeah.
So that, was the distinction of being an important member of society.
Yes.
So, and then, living so far in the end of Kenya, it was actually, interestingly, going to university. And when people those days talked about going to university, it had to be the University of
Of
Nairobi.
course, there is no other university until today. Yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think that's a controversial debate, but that was considered one of the ways of actually traveling.
Yes.
Is just going to the university, getting to the university.
Yeah.
So you can see how important it was to actually make sure that you succeeded and got into.
Very nice, very nice.
University.
And was it easy, getting those A's, passing your KCP?
I mean, in hindsight, not the hardest thing that I have had to do.
So you keep discovering odd things to do.
Not the hardest thing I've had to do. It wasn't always easy, of course, but I think there are harder things in life.
And we'll get to those things as a CTO and even as a person, right? Yeah, Tesh, how was it for you?
Yeah, mine is quite a different story.
Yeah.
So I was born here in Nairobi. My parents came from the village, but made themselves in Nairobi. So
self-made parents.
Yeah, they've done pretty well from themselves in the sense that coming from an upper middle class family. I grew up in a very good environment where I didn't miss food or school fees or anything. So, and my parents have been very supportive in the sense that they build a lot of confidence in me from early on because they allowed me to be whatever I wanted. That made me dream a lot.
Bigger.
Ever since I was in primary, I mean, one day I could wake up and say I want to be a footballer. And, I know of many Africans would say, you tell your parents that.
Are you crazy or what?
Yeah, they tell
you get a beating.
Exactly, get serious, My parents were quite the opposite in the sense, I want to be a footballer, okay, do it. You want to be a musician, okay, do it. You want to be a doctor, do it. So I grew up with that mindset that I can be
anything you want to be.
Yes. And I think that was it's a privilege, to be honest, because not many people have that kind of opportunity to dream. And I think that's what led me into entrepreneurship. So that together with the fact that my mom was an entrepreneur, and at the time I didn't realize how much the environment you're in sort of creates the opportunity for you to it leads you into a certain direction. So I never knew anything like how employment works, etc. Because my mom was a businesswoman, so that's what I saw. And later I realized that's probably how I ended up, just knowing I wanted to go into entrepreneurship even before I finished high school. And I knew I was going to study whatever I'll study, but the goal was to go into entrepreneurship. Yeah, so that's been I grew a few minutes outside Nairobi.
Where is that?
In a place called Ngong.
Ngong, yeah.
Yeah, and I went to a local school. I used to walk to school.
Which school is that?
It's called Calvary Baptist Academy.
Private school, right?
It's a private school.
Okay,
I went to a private...
From nursery, kindergarten to all the way?
All the way to class 8. I went to one school. I went to one high school called Mutungoni Academy. That River, small private school. Then I landed in the University of Nairobi, and that's where I met...
You met this chief?
This guy in first year.
You met the villager.
You met the villager. Like, this villager. Chief, what is that one thing that you remember from primary school days? Either good or bad. Actually, good and bad.
Man, I growing up in the village is pretty interesting, but I do not always view... I mean, sometimes I see, like in media, some of those things are considered bad. But I don't think that any of my experiences there was really bad. It was just
what
different.
Is that? What is that?
So for example, my mom passed on at when I was quite young. So I lived with my grandparents. One of my regular practice. So I used to be the bell ringer.
That means you are well disciplined. From my school days, a bell ringer was a very disciplined person. They're always on time. They're always passing the exams. It's like an example, like this guy can keep time, right? And time is the most precious thing at that age. And I think at any given age, before anything else becomes important. So Yeah, that tells a lot.
Yeah, so one of the, my regular practices was actually I would ring the bell and be out of class, ring the bell, run all the way to home to put on the fire to cook lunch. So you remember in primary school, you used to leave for lunch at 12:40 and needed to be back to school at 2 p.m.
Okay, 1:30 or 2 p.m.
Depending on where you went to school. So, for us, I think there was a consideration because most people used to do long distances of walking.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for those who are thinking about long distance, this is the perfect example. Because if you have to leave at 12:40, and I know where you come from, people run.
Yeah.
That tells
so
you
I
how
actually
far
used
that
to
is.
run all the way home.
How many kilometers, if you don't mind?
I wasn't far, maybe 5 kilometers.
You go 5 kilometers all the way, ring the bell.
No. So it's ring the bell, go 5 kilometers, put up the fire, have my grandmother cook, eat, back 5 kilometers, ring the bell for guys to come back to class.
Did you sleep in school?
No.
But how did you ring the bell and then go to light the fire? You had to go.
That's the lunchtime bell. So, of course, in the morning, it's easier. It's one way, right? You
Oh,
go to school and then ring the bell.
I get it. Oh, I thought it's in the morning. I was like, this chief.
The interesting experience was for the lunch. So I used to ring the bell for all
guys to go for lunch.
No, it's all through. When you're a bell ringer, you're a bell ringer. So you ring in between the lessons, break time, lunch time. But for me, the one that was challenging was the lunchtime one, because you had to ring the bell for guys to go for lunch, run home, put up the fire, have your lunch.
Then go back before everyone else is there.
Before. So I actually, one thing I came to realize I'm trying still to, work through is I eat pretty fast. By any standard up to date. And I can eat very hot food. But that is just,
from that experience.
Yes, it's adaptation.
How long do you spend for your lunch, like eating?
I haven't gotten really good at it.
5 minutes,
I always
10 minutes?
eat while doing something else.
Okay.
I eat while
I also
having a
eat fast, but
meeting
I don't know. Now that you have said it, it's just clicking my mind. Maybe that's why. Because I had the same experience of, I didn't ring the bell, but I had that experience of running home, eating and coming back, but we didn't have so much time, so we had like 40 minutes or thereabout. And the school was like 3 kilometers away from home. Which is a long distance for a young guy. So now I will not consider it really long, but
it's a pretty standard, I think, experience for most people in the outskirts of the country.
Exactly. You know, a guy in Nairobi who is going to primary school. This might sound like, what? Because in the morning, the bus is there, and in the evening, the bus drops you at your door. So this is very important, actually. It might sound like it's not.
I really pity them, actually, because that experience is exciting.
And you work out, actually, without working out, right? You don't have to pay for it. It just comes in. Chief, what was the experience for you? Bad or good?
It was great. I think what I really loved my primary school because, I'm a very passionate person.
Yep.
So anything I dig into, I do it with all my heart. And for me, primary school was all about football. I played football all the time. Lunch break, so for us guys, it was a private school, so there was food in school. But we would eat quickly, go play football the whole lunchtime. In the evening,
before you go
classes, play football.
Did you go home or you were bored?
I went home throughout primary, and then I boarded in high school. But for me, primary was all about football. I ate, dreamt, everything football. Saturday I would spend the whole day. I would come. In fact, my parents, we used to have issues every night because I would come back at the dark. And my mom would ask, "How are you guys seeing the ball?" Because we would play till it gets dark. So that was my primary school.
Nice.
Yeah. So, and I really enjoyed it, and I love football today. I still watch football. I still play football once in a while.
So there was no bad experience for you? Not even a chick that you said hi to and like,
No, not really. I mean, there's definitely a lot of experiences. I went to mixed schools as well, both in primary and high school. But I'd say generally a lot of learning experiences, especially learning how to interact with people and deal with people.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think the other thing that came out was leadership, because in primary I was captain of the football team for school. I was a captain for football in high school as well.
Yeah.
Ended up being a class prefect at some point, but mine was for the opposite reason.
Yeah.
I used to be a noisemaker, so the teacher decided the only way to make you not make too much noise is we make you the prefect, so that you're looking at other noisemakers.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it worked really well, but
Always send a thief to catch thieves.
exactly.
Yeah. And I think even I don't know, in computing there's an algorithm that actually expresses that in a better way. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you remember game theory.
Yes,
But Tesh, this is for you. Having coming from that, upper middle class, right?
Yeah.
There's so much even right now that people tend to overlook the fruits of hard work, right?
Yeah.
And some guys just say, you know what, I have everything figured out and just relax. For you, why was it different? Like you felt like I need to create my own future. I need to put my best foot forward from day one.
Yeah. So I think there's something intrinsic, in the sense of at some point there's a switch that flipped, because all through into high school, I had anything I needed, right?
Yeah.
But then I got to a point where I was thinking about, okay, how is my life? What my life meant to be?
Yeah.
And I realized very quickly, also in high school, that whatever I had was because of the hard work of my parents. Because my dad used to sleep with goats, and he would tell us these stories all the time.
When growing up.
About how hard his childhood is, and education was the only path for him, and he ended up becoming a professor. So he studied up to the highest level he could, and because he knew that was his path. And I think at some point I just got thinking about what does the future hold for me, because I'm not going to be reliant
on my parents.
But more importantly is my parents let me be a kid when I was a kid. But it got to a point when I was getting now into right before, I think it was in Form 4, my dad sat me down and told me, it's your grades that will determine which university you go to. Number one. And number two is you will have to determine your own destiny, because as when you hit 18, which was about to hit 18, you're an adult, and your mother and I will not be taking care of you anymore. And there was a flip.
That's the moment. This is the time now I need to work on myself and work for what I want to create.
And that's exactly what happened, because when I was enrolled into computer science, my dad told me to go and look for a place.
You went and looked for this place yourself.
Told me go look for a place.
Now you have the grades. Find the school that you want to go.
Find a school and also find a place to live. You're an adult now. So
I think that's the best dad.
And
if you ask
in
me,
hindsight, I really appreciate it, because now it was like you've nested enough. It's time now to go and start looking for.
So you didn't feel like you're getting kicked out?
No, not at all. Not at all. I was excited to move. I've always been, quite. I'd call it. I think I'm born a hustler, because even straight out of high school, I started doing business here and there. I remember in high school I used to sell stuff in school as well.
Mandazis, biscuits.
Exactly.
Books.
So
Did you sell books and pens?
They've known me as a hustler all through. So So
okay,
that's been my journey.
Nice. For you, Chief, you found your own way. You you grew into it. Like there was no moral compass, there's no guidance. You I want to get out of this. How was it?
Yeah, interesting. But I just wanted to mention something about the question you asked, Tesh, and what I've seen over time. For me, and one of the reasons I have so much respect for my partner here is because I believe that it's actually people think that having some sort of privilege is easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's actually hard
Yeah.
to have the fire burning in you
Very
with
true,
some
yeah.
privilege
Yeah.
when you kind of have something to fall back on rather than
When there's
you know,
nothing.
when there is nothing.
Yeah.
I always feel like when there is nothing, it's actually an unfair advantage because
Yeah.
you have the matchbox
Yes,
to light
yes,
up
yes.
the fire.
Yes, yes.
But you can imagine somebody like Tesh who has some privilege, he has to make the fire.
For sure.
You
And,
know?
he had made that fire. Yeah.
And he has
Yeah.
made that fire.
Yeah.
So I always feel like it's actually harder to find, that innate, power in yourself,
Yeah.
to be motivated, to
Yeah.
want things for yourself
Yeah.
when there is nothing pushing you. Because
Yeah.
remember, comfort
Yeah.
is a big enemy.
Yeah. Breeds contempt.
It's content.
Yeah.
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 So-
So for you feel like it was necessary.
Yeah.
There was no,
So-
if you hear these things, it was necessary. Like if this doesn't work, there is no other way. And
No, you don't even think of it not working.
Yeah.
You always
Like it
think
has
of
to work.
something having to work.
There's no option.
Yeah.
There is no option.
There is no-
Anything has to
yeah,
work.
yeah.
But yeah. So for me, of course, growing up, mostly what I did, apart from school, was cattle grazing. I was lucky to then, inherit most of the cattle from my grandfather. Going
So,
into
but now even this changes the, the conversation. So you already had some cattle. Cattle in that place is big thing, right? Yeah.
I had cattle.
Like how many of them?
and I considered myself a rich guy. Yeah, so I think so it's cattle, goats. When he passed on, maybe around 60. But unfortunately lost. They were then stolen.
Okay. Okay.
At
By
some
the raiders
point.
or
Yeah, by the raiders.
all of them?
All of them. Everything.
What?
Yes.
At that young age?
No, I was
Or
in
afterwards?
campus that time
Oh,
actually
okay,
when I had just received
The inheritance.
the inheritance.
And did you receive it after someone died or you
It's
just...
my grandfather passed on.
Oh, and he said this is
Yeah, yeah.
Mesongo's.
These ones have to go
Inheritance.
to the guy who was taking care of them.
I see. So you had to take care of both of them or just your grandmother?
No.
Your
So,
grandmother and grandfather were...
so I grew up with them. They were taking care of me.
Okay.
I
But at
wouldn't
some
say-
point you...
Yeah. So, but I was taking care. I used to help my grandfather with the cattle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. So that's why then I was next in line
To inherit.
to inherit the cattle.
Makes a lot of sense. So
Yeah, but so going into universities, for me, I was coming into campus to learn mostly, because the first time I actually did interact with computers was when I went to my high school.
Yeah.
Form 1, and I just got intrigued by this thing where you can click and something appears on the screen. That
Yeah.
was the thing that was just
Yeah.
mesmerizing for me, is that you have a keypad
Yeah.
and you click numbers on the keypad and
Yeah.
they appear on the screen. I was like, it's
Yeah.
magic behind this thing. I want to know.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they told me the whole science behind this thing is called computer science.
You are sold out.
Yes, if you become a very good student,
Yeah.
you might have the opportunity to go and study computer science.
That is in Form 1.
That is in Form 1. And
yeah.
in my school, so I went to a school called St. Joseph's School, Rapogi. It's inside the sugarcane used for Sony Sugar.
Is it seminary or no?
It's Catholic, but it's not a seminary.
Okay. I know another seminary there. I don't know by the name of St. Paul or something, but go ahead. Yep.
So what used to happen actually, you never got into computer studies directly. You had to be top 30 out of the over 200 students for you to be given a chance. Because our lab, I think, had 2 computers then during our year.
So there is also demand and supply issue.
Yeah, demand and supply issue. What they used to do is you had to be in the top 30 in your first exam in Form 1 for you to get a chance to study computer studies.
Yeah.
Yes.
And do you think they also knew it's not that straightforward, that they had to sieve some guys or?
The reason we were given, I think, was just a supply and demand issue.
Okay.
But also computer studies in itself as a course, a subject in high school also used to be very trying. It used to be very trying.
Yeah. Not that I did it. By the way, I saw my first computer in first year.
First year
but I
university.
owned a first computer in second year. Maybe you can.
That sounds very familiar. Mesongo, I think, also owned his first computer.
That I could configure, break, install Linux, and install, do all the magic, create my own project. And you know our computers there, you could not do anything with them. You could ask Kamau to install a few things and mic. But beyond that, don't go beyond anything that will create something. And now you're studying the computer studies. How was it for you? Did you study the 4 years or?
Yeah, I studied it the 4 years. I was actually meant to drop it in Form 3, just based on performance.
Yeah.
So what will happen is I will be position 1, but be position last in computer studies.
And what was the reason?
It was a class of 5 people.
Oh, so you were like...
So I was number 5, but I'm number last. So there's actually a funny time. So we used to have something called visitors in school.
What is that?
So visitors is when you are last in a subject. So there was a time, I remember the last exam of Form 3 going to Form 4. I was a visitor in computer studies with 78%.
What used to happen
and
to
I
the
was
visitors?
number 1 in the class. So you used to remain in school to get extra coaching on the subject. So let's say you're number last in math, you will remain in school.
Yeah. For how many weeks?
For an additional week.
Okay.
So everybody else goes home and you remain in school for an additional week to do more work on that particular subject. But of course, many teachers were surprised. Like, what are you doing here? You are a student. Why are you a visitor? And of course, there was that push for me to drop computer studies because the belief was that it's gonna bring down my.
I see. Yeah, because your average.
Yeah, my average grading. You know how the
final exam.
So works, but I was very clear that I just wanted to do computer science, and even in the course selection, I only selected computer science.
Nothing else.
Nothing else.
No medicine, no veterinary.
Everybody else wanted me to do medicine, but I was determined that I want to do computer science.
If you are lucky, you did computer science. You see how our doctors are suffering right now. I don't know if you have seen it.
I mean, fortune favors the brave.
You see? And you're doing great. Actually, not only great, but also you're doing great in the computing field through the solution that you guys are offering. But beyond that, you get to the University of Nairobi, Chiromo campus. What strikes you like, this is what I expected, or this is beyond what I expected?
You mean for the campus itself?
Yeah.
I think so. I think my experience is probably different from Tesh's experience because, for me, it was my first time in Nairobi.
Yeah.
And so everything was different.
Yeah.
I came to Nairobi. I went to one of my uncle's place. He hosted me before coming into campus because during the admission day, I actually had to come and admit myself.
Yeah.
In the whole process. So I think everything was just, too big for me. The school was big, the roads are big, the houses are big, the cars are big.
So that alone is an achievement by itself. Like, these things.
Like, I mean, this is the city.
Yeah.
I'm in the process of making it.
Yeah.
So it was pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Then of course you can remember the life at the prefabs,
where everyone is dropped and like, are you doing computer science? No.
Exactly.
I'm doing law.
I'm doing economics.
Are you doing law? No. I'm doing economics. And the guy sleeps until midday. See, for you looked for the degree you wanna do, right? It was not like I wanna do computer science. How was it for you?
I was certain I wanted to do computer science. Going back to high school, I got fascinated by computers.
Yeah.
And I started reading up biographies of people who are building businesses in computing.
Yeah.
So I was the biggest fan of Bill Gates, Zuckerberg. I would, look online, these platforms, how did they build this? What's the story? So I knew I wanted to build similar. And that's how I ended up choosing computer science.
Yeah.
So I was also very focused. I knew this is the only thing I want to study.
Yeah.
But my campus story was very interesting.
Yes.
Like I'm sure you remember, I used to do a lot of hustle.
Of course.
On the side.
Of course,
So,
yeah.
Yeah, the school would need to print stuff, brochures, or to design stuff.
You had a tuck shop, right? No?
Yeah, we actually co-owned a tuck shop with this guy.
Later on or in first year?
No, in
Third year?
third year
Okay.
when we vied for an elective.
You guys
position
were both
together.
leaders, right?
Yes.
One module 1, one module 2. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So for those who don't understand, self-sponsored students like us,
Yeah.
and then government-sponsored students like Mesongo. So both of us represented the School of Computing.
Yeah.
And as through that, you get to own a business in the school.
Yeah.
So you're given
That's one of the
it's one of the
packages.
perks.
Yeah.
So you're given a room. Of course, I was staying outside campus, so I rented out my room. But then we were given also this tuck shop to run, so we'd collect rent with Mesongo. But the campus experience for me is where I saw, you see all sorts of people. Like I was exposed to a whole new world, especially just seeing how, a lot of people in our class were top students in high school, top students in the country.
Alliance,
like
Tare.
very smart people. All of them were in this class, right? I came in and I was a bit confused.
Yeah.
I felt
Out of place.
Very out of place.
Yeah.
We used to sit in the back.
Yeah.
With other modules 2 students, who've just come, you've chosen one of the best courses in the school.
Yeah.
But you're privileged to be in the class because, your
can
parents
pay for
could afford it.
Yeah.
And you had to meet certain grades.
Yeah.
But also you needed to be able to afford the school fees.
Yeah. Yeah.
So a lot of us guys would sit in the back, and here was this guy who is sitting in the back with us, but he was
Module
1 student.
Yeah.
So, and I think there was a lot of curiosity on
Yeah.
both sides, and that's how we ended up being friends. I was asking him,
What are you doing back
you
here?
should be sitting in the first row, like the other smart kids.
Yeah. We have come to support you to make it in life. And you're here with us.
They're sitting in the back with us. So I was wondering, what are you doing here? And I'm sure he was wondering the same thing. You never come to all classes. You mean, in fact, I was missing, I think, maybe 60 or 70% of the classes.
You are out there doing the hustle.
What are you doing? Like, if you're not coming to class, what are you doing?
So for him, he was asking you that, right?
Yes.
So you are like, I want to learn how this guy is surviving on 30% of class attendance. And you want to know, what is this guy throwing his future away by sitting back here with the 0.7? Exactly. Yeah. So that's how you guys got to know each other. And then did it make you to become even more serious with school and maybe attend more class, or how did that friendship
I think what I think came out of it that was very valuable is appreciating each other's strengths.
Yeah.
And we realized at that point how much we complemented each other, because even as friends, just through exposure. Because being an entrepreneur means, you need to be open to learning, be resourceful and all that. Be able to, connect with people from different walks of life. You need to be able to convince people on your vision. There's so many, I'd call it social, or at least that's what they call it, the social skills. And that was the biggest thing for me, visiting prefabs and seeing people survive on
how much was the prefab per day? 4 shillings? 4 shillings.
I think if you translate we
even
used
not
to
a
pay
cent.
maybe 4,600 a cent.
Which is like 4 shillings a
semester.
day or something. 4 months is like how many days are those? Who is the mathematician in the house? We are all mathematicians anyway.
90. I think a semester used to be about 3 months.
So
90.
4,500, you say?
So you can imagine that experience
Like
where
50 bob a day, which is like 50 cents. Right now, actually, they are paying more than that. Yeah.
Well,
And the same prefabs you can imagine 10 years ago now.
They have not been
crazy, bro. It's crazy. Yeah. We need to go back then, try and do something about it.
Amen.
Not about people sleeping though, but the whole ecosystem, because I was there the other day.
You're there and you see.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, like $1, you have 3 or 4 meals in a day with $1. While us, we used to go to lunch in a different place. And Mesongo can tell you the story of the shock.
Yeah.
When he saw us buying food for like 1 meal, like lunch for $3.
You're like, these guys are balling.
I was just like,
that's my budget for the whole week. This guy is eating one lunch. So it opened us up to quite different experiences.
Yeah.
But we built a friendship from there.
Yeah. And I know some guys actually, even beyond eating $1, 3 meals, they went further and bought the electrical cookers, which were Juakali made, right? They're not standard electrical cookers. And to some extent, I have had prefabs burn a few times.
Yeah,
out of
because
that.
of the load.
Yeah.
Because, I think some of the things you have to appreciate is, given the environment where some of the people come from, with that help money is what they sponsor. I used to have a roommate who used to have his other 2 siblings in school just with the
help money.
And he still needed to survive through campus. So I would actually bring him unga from my village. We have a lot of maize, and he will use the unga to make porridge. He will use the unga to make ugali, and all he needed in a day is skuma of 10 shillings. And that's a day done. So 10 times 30, only $3 for the whole month.
And the rest of the money pays the school fees for other 2 siblings. And that, I don't know if you guys heard about this. They want to discontinue ELB for some reason. I don't know why. It's so sad.
So I have had, just because of my background, I've gone through the whole proposition for the new financing. So they're putting together a new financing structure for, for the government sponsorship into tertiary education. And I think that it's a little bit dishonest, given that most of the people that are actually working on this bill probably went through that system and understand how important it is. I strongly think that it's something that should be reconsidered.
Yes.
Because if you look at the way they're trying to determine the poverty index to then determine how much is going to go into the sponsorship of the students, I will say that we do not have the proper systems to actually achieve something meaningful using that system today.
Yes. And do you know what is surprising is that the other day I was getting not the other day, but I think 2 years ago, I was getting my clearance form from ELB. At what's the name of the plaza? Anniversary Plaza. When I was getting the ELB, there was just one floor with all these offices. And I went to that floor actually thinking, it's the same thing. But I was surprised that they have taken almost
the whole land.
Yes, and that of course is not coming at a pocket change, right? And my question was, when I had the proposal of the bill, is that why would you guys be this extravagant, whereas the main reason for this funding is to go to the student? And I'm sure the money they pay there per year, maybe they can, when they listen to this, they can correct me. They can buy a whole building and they cut on the costs. Because at the end of the day, if this fund doesn't exist, I can assure you, like, half of the brain drain that will happen in this country will not actually, the country will actually go at a loss more than the fund itself. As well as, guys who will discontinue the school, because also I hear there's another proposal of increasing the school fee. So, which means if the help doesn't increase, then even the help itself is not enough for you to go to school. So, either way, it needs to be looked at, you said, and it's kind of sad. And guys like us actually can speak openly about it. I don't know if you got help, but I did get help.
Module 2, are we getting help?
Yeah. So we need to speak about these things, and like, I'm sure there is a way, of course, if there is money crunch and stuff, or if people are not paying back the money, and there's a better way of doing it, as you said. So, here you are at the campus, and now you have started exchanging thoughts. Hey, I can do this. I can do the other. I can be an entrepreneur. I can write codes. And you guys, did you start now coming up with the businesses that you could run together, or this came at a later stage?
Oh, it came on in campus.
Yeah, we actually, so I think just taking you back to actually how we met. So, of course, I was sitting back, as Tesh mentioned, it was a bunch of, the self-sponsored students sitting behind. But for me, I always through my school life, anywhere I go, even in church, I just like to sit behind just because of, one, my concentration levels, and then two, just curiosity. I always want to see everything. Yes. And interact with new people and all this. So that's why we did meet with Tesh, and I asked him, hey, dude, man, you keep asking what assignments we have, what we learned. Can you decide if you want to be in school or outside of school? Yeah. But he was humble enough to tell me, this school thing is not the only thing I'm doing.
Okay.
It's not like I'm sleeping when I'm not in school.
Yeah.
I actually have a business I'm running in town. And, that just captured my interest.
Yeah.
And it was actually interesting because most of the self-sponsored students used to have side gigs that they used to do.
So you're like, there's this other thing that is happening here, and I'm missing out.
Yeah, most of us, the government-sponsored students, we just used to go to class,
go to prefabs, do the assignment, go to class.
Yeah, but to be honest, these guys had a whole other life. Going around apart from just studying. Some of them will sell games. Some, they were just doing a bunch of other things around. So I started being curious and hanging out with them. Hence, how I discovered they were paying $3 for lunch, which was not a very good experience.
Did you ask them, how can I afford $3 for lunch?
No, I just said, you guys have to pay. You're the ones who brought me here. I cannot just take...
Otherwise, you're missing your next 2-day meal.
Yeah, it's not going to be affordable. But the positive effect of that is I started seeing that, of course, just apart from coming to school to study, you can start doing other things.
Yeah.
So got more intrigued in, what else are you doing? So he was doing graphic design and web design. I didn't have any experience on graphic design, but I said, of course, when you have the next gig, man, on web design, I can chime in like a code here and there. Yeah. So
and the guy was like, I have my first employee. That's how entrepreneurs
think. You can tell us how you thought about it.
Was that the thought? Now I can take 2 gigs instead of 1.
I mean, Mesongo is a smart man.
Yeah.
I think from the onset, he wanted to share the pie.
I was like, Chief, I don't want to be an employee here. Can I have my right of...
Yeah, how much are you making? Okay, I'll do that. In fact, you let me do the whole job. You just go and bring more.
So you can have what you have, maybe 50-50.
Yeah.
Even you don't need to do anything, just be getting this gig.
Exactly.
Did that scale?
Yeah, we did a lot of projects. We became partners at that point. We were in second year. So we registered a software company, Mesozi, back in 2013.
Yeah.
And Mesongo was feeling that he could now punch in the next weight. So he said, now let's look for software gigs.
Serious projects.
Yes.
This is web design for Joomla. This is not my thing. That's how. And also for your side, you are confident I can get proper software platforms to build.
Yes. So we work together on doing proposals for bigger projects.
Yeah.
We are also both curious and just see opportunities. So we went on to propose software development work for companies that we thought would do with digitizing the processes, etc. So that's...
I remember that story. Huh? Go ahead.
That's how we...
How crazy did it get in these proposals? It's a good thing to... there are guys who are actually another Mesongo and Tesh.
Yes.
Out there. So maybe it's a good thing that they learn from you.
Yeah, so we did so much of those proposals, and typically how how these things work is you apply for opportunities and tenders. And in fact, one of our first startups was a tender automation platform, because we're like, this is so much paperwork. Why don't we digitize it?
Yeah.
And based on that, we came up with a platform that was connecting people who have jobs and tender opportunities with businesses, and we thought this could be done better.
Yeah.
Fast forward, that business has failed terribly.
Face fast.
So good. We learned a lot of good lessons.
I think we spent probably 1.5 years building that business.
Building the whole module or just the business?
Both the business side of things. So mostly Tesh will run the business side of things, and I was building the tech for it.
Yeah.
But we did learn quite a number of lessons. You know, like we should probably find the clients first.
Customers or clients?
The customers. Customers.
Yeah. Or users rather.
Or use.
Yeah.
But you know, when you're looking at a tendering platform, more customers that have the users to.
Yeah.
Because we actually did get people that were really interested, but when we went through the procurement department, the procurement department wouldn't accept this because, you know, we learned like they used to spend like, they will go to Mombasa like for 10 days to do tender evaluation. Yet this platform was automating tender evaluation. Like, you know, you're just eating into people's per DMs, their only chance to travel to the cost.
Yeah.
There is no way your platform is going to succeed in doing that.
So what you're trying to solve, you're trying to create a problem for it.
Yes.
The way it was, it's working, still works the same way today because it's designed to work like that.
Yeah. You know, engineers, unfortunately, we mostly always think about the efficiency that technology brings, you know, without really thinking about the entire problem scope.
The human aspect.
Yeah, the human aspect, how the humans think about it. And I think there is this famous story about, I don't know which of these NGOs it was, that built a water, like piping solution for people in a certain area. I don't know, it's somewhere north of Kenya. And then they realized that the women weren't using the piped water, and instead just preferred to go and fetch water from the one single place that they were trying to get them away from. And the reason was because, given of how the culture is set up there, women don't just leave home. It was the only opportunity for them
socializing.
To leave home, you know, just go and see people and meet with their friends. So you will fetch water at the same time. So they never wanted water to come home. It takes away the flexibility of being able to socialize. So that was kind of like the similar problem we started facing with the tendering thing, more so for public institutions. Is you know, it was just the right opportunity to get out of office, go and do tender evaluation.
And do you think also corruption, like, it's something that they didn't want to like eradicate with this platform?
Yeah, I think because of the visibility, you know, also it's a chance. You know, when like the processes are not working. It's something similar to what you're seeing going on with our passport issue. I think you saw the government talking about it. I recently just applied for, my wife just applied for passport for herself and our young girl. And then so we were asking ourselves, why do we do? Because if you've applied for a passport in Kenya, you submit everything online. But you then go print out the forms and have to take them desk by desk in the entire process. Like, what is really the essence of the online application if you think about it?
That's a good question.
It's just
because you can fill the same information.
You can just fill it and take
including
it
the
all
biometrics.
around. So nothing has really been automated if you think about it. But I do feel that it's because there is the way the process has been set up. It's an opportunity, of course, for people, you know,
to benefit out of it.
To benefit out of it.
To be corrupt about it. Let's say the way it is, you know, and also I feel like to some extent I feel like I should empathize with the guys who set themselves for corruption, because okay, there is an excuse always, like, oh, you know, we are not paid enough, the life is expensive, or maybe, you know, it's a way of making an extra buck. And there's someone actually who proposed in a banter somewhere, like, if government today said you can be corrupt as much as you want, but we tax it. You know, corrupt would drop to like 50% or 10% automatically, because now it's official that you can do all your thing. Like, you know, our police don't do shit, right? If you think about it, by the way, when you need the police might not show up for you. But if they stop you, any police stops you, what comes into your mind?
Yeah, money.
Yeah.
You have to part with money. Otherwise, they'll take you to court and you'll part with maybe more money. So there's no way you're getting out of that circle of. So in some way, it just go without saying that corruption is there. And everyone knows everyone is corrupt in one way or the other. As much as you come into my forte, you have to part with something, right?
It's
But it's not.
unfortunate.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because now there's someone who maybe is in jail for just not being able to find their way out.
Yeah. And then I think sometimes we facilitate it because of the inefficiencies. You know, if now you want your passport in 5 days, the government, you know, you told, oh, by the way, you know, our machines have broken down. We have a backlog of 6 months passports we are printing, and you have to travel in 2 months.
Yeah.
In short, because of the efficient, that word is just going to come from you.
Yes.
You're going to ask,
Is there something we can do about it?
is there a way my passport can, you know, be printed next week?
You're like, if you.
So
you
the
can get vizuri.
inefficiencies, exactly.
Yeah.
The inefficiencies are
Yeah.
created, you know, to create obstacles that then lead into.
Yeah. So for us being young minds in the ecosystem, do you think we can take out of this process, or do we even need civil education? Do we need to encourage people to find better ways? Do we even need to even encourage better policies where people are paid enough not to be, you know, to be thinking about the only way I can make extra bucks is through corruption?
Yeah. I think from how I think about it is, you know, what do you glorify? What do people admire? Unfortunately, in our case, when you think about driving a big car, who comes to your mind?
The politicians.
Yes, it's a politician. It's not an entrepreneur. It's not somebody who's actually trying to do good or change the world.
Yeah.
It's
Good case is many people don't know which car the CEO of Safaricom drives, or you know. But people can, when a car is passing, they can tell you this one is for Kidero, this one is for Somco, this one is for you know, VPP.
Exactly.
This one is
And we
for
have people like Joshua Igara and the KCB CEO who is earning like 220 million, which is
why don't those cars have flags? Safaricom flag, KCB flag. But you will see the government of Kenya flag, and it's allowed. It's misbehaving on the road. But it's just encouraging misbehavior because that's rewarded.
Yeah.
You know, if you are a politician,
you are rewarded
you can
for
do
being
this,
a
and no
thug.
one will ask you.
Yeah.
You know, which is quite unfortunate, because if we can't fix that, then why should a young Tesh grow up wanting to be something else?
True. That makes a lot of sense, actually. So do we because it's to be honest, it's a chicken and egg problem.
Who are the voters?
For me, I think it's very simple. We have to disincentivize politics from being profitable.
Okay.
Politics, I call it the Japan model. I think if you read around, you know, how the society of Japan thinks, civil servants are civil servants, including politicians.
They are servants.
You're servants. That's why you will board public transport with them. You know, they are not treated in any special way because they are serving the people.
Yeah.
The people that have this kind of privilege that politicians have here is actually leaders of, you know, profit-making institutions.
Yeah.
So we need to disincentivize politics so that you don't go into politics to make money.
Yes.
You go into politics for service. You know, when you get to a certain level and you feel like it's time to serve my community, you know, you're going there for service. You don't even really care about the salary. You probably could do without the salary.
Yeah.
Nobody's, you know, hunting you, so you don't need a lot of security and what.
Yeah.
But you know, today, just because of how politics is treated as a profitable institution, so you know, everybody wants that role. So we've incentivized it for profitability.
Yeah.
It's like
and it's sad.
Yeah. So it's the big. So as long as it's, you know, incentivized as a profitable institution to be a member of parliament, and the way, if you look at how we've set up, everybody is fighting for a certain role based on the budget that is there. That
The
is why there is
CDF,
that is
the
why there
World
is
Bank funding.
important ministries, important what. So, as long as it's viewed like that, I think that we're always going to have the unintended outcomes of corruption and all the other things.
Yeah. But can we take our way out of this? Like having system that hold people accountable, it's traceable, because sometimes someone steals like 5 billion, like it has happened several times, and then you cannot track that money. Yeah. Right?
I think we can, and however, the governance needs to change. Because who will implement the policy? Will implement that change that is required for systems such as what we're trying to develop to actually go through. It goes back, as you said, the chicken and egg problem. It goes back to the people
themselves
that we have voted in to make the changes happen.
So this is even more like human change. Like you have to make that decision consciously, as well as now it's not like I'll become an MP, I'll become a governor because there's this budget for me to profit. Yeah. But I'm going there to solve a problem that actually is facing other people. Not even me, other people. Yeah. And if we start thinking like that, of course, there'll be change. But
the only thing I wanted to add is, from how I view it, it's more than chicken and egg. It's not a chicken and egg problem. If you're familiar in computer science with something called circular dependency,
yes,
it is a circular dependency problem. Because it's more than just chicken and egg. Because remember, you want the right leaders.
Yes.
Sorry, you actually want the right policies. The right policies have to come from the right leaders. But the right leaders, the moment you give people the power to put themselves there, you will never have the right leaders. So you want the right masses, which is the electorate. Like, we have to make our choices informed. But the system, is the information of the masses, how does that flow?
Yeah.
It's coming from the leaders. So who are now not the right leaders. So,
but now you see the chicken and egg where it's coming from.
I see.
Even these people come from us. It's not like they come from somewhere. So it's us.
Yeah, so it's never going to be the intention of these leaders to create the right information in the masses. It's always going to be the intention to have this information so that the choices that are made are advantageous to them, and then they make the policies that are advantageous to them. So it's,
it's a circular.
I think that to break that circular dependency, it means that information needs to stop, like the influential information needs to stop coming from the current crop of leaders. Personally, I think that is a strong way to cut the tape.
So people like us should speak clearly, openly, and say this is how we should expect our leaders to be. And if you are a leader, because I feel like right now, if the young guys of Kenya decided they wanted someone else that I've never been heard in this country to be a president, they could do that easily. Yeah. Because the majority of guys who didn't vote in 2022 were the guys who could make a president. And they're young guys. Like 70% of us are like, youth or, youth bracket. So I feel like that could work. But when we think about in another spectrum, is that young guys also don't have a reason to vote. And they even don't feel like, even if I vote, there is no difference. So maybe, as you're saying, we need to more of us, because I know there are so many guys who are doing amazing stuff out here who have a following, right? The others who have made it to out there in the global ecosystem, who could actually come together and have sober conversation around politics, politicians, leadership, what is good for us as people. Because if we go with the trend that you're going with, we'll actually be worse than where we have been. That I can assure you, because you see even how the commodity stuff is changing very fast, the taxes, the whatnot. Even if you're making a living like you guys are making a living, you feel the pinch in one or the other. So it's no longer like it was put in 2022, us versus them. It's no longer like that, because at the end of the day, if tax is there, everyone has to pay. Unless, though I hear there are people who don't pay taxes, and I tend to believe, because I see there are people who do really well. And then there are people who do really worse, but also the economy doesn't reflect that we are doing really well, right? Like in 2020, I had like the most expensive cars in the country. That's the time people imported them. But at the same time that we received some some funding from World Health, I don't know if it's World Health or World Bank, a lot of it. And you know, when you do your calculation, you see how that's
The money was spent.
right. So, but the reason why even we are delving into this because we are here, and I feel like we are the guys who can actually address some of these. Because for me, I'm always like, let's build the tech ecosystem. Let's build the entrepreneurship environment so that we can have more businesses, we can create more jobs, we can create more opportunities for everyone. Because if everyone has an opportunity, I feel like even you not think about being corrupt, you know, killing the other person, stealing from someone, or even finding your shortcut to where you want to go.
Yeah, but I think that maybe just to finish up on this,
please.
It's a topic that we've discussed even with Tesh for a while.
Yeah.
Is you know, there is always that question of, I think a lot of Kenyans believe that they don't need to care about politics and policy.
Yeah.
But I think over experience, when you run a business, you realize that most of these policies at the end of the day affect you.
Absolutely.
Because you a business does not float. Right? Like
it exists in an ecosystem of other
exists in an ecosystem, right?
Yeah.
So for example, you see good policies. Like we just did launch our ESOP program.
Yeah, I saw that by the way, and we should talk more about that. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and during the same time, the president and the government passed a policy that actually has direct effect on the ESOP program, where you're not kind of required to pay up the tax obligations of the shares beforehand.
You can pay in small amounts, or
you pay when you exercise.
Okay.
The shares, right?
Yeah.
That creates an extra incentive on the ESOP program, which in turn leads to motivation of the employees, right? Now, when you look at some disadvantageous taxes, for example, what is being proposed in the the new financial bill, I think that policy at the end of the day has an effect on how you're going to run your business, right?
Yeah.
Because then it's going to affect, the headline, costs for your business. And as you know, then the question should be, how is the government going to support new businesses to be able to meet those costs that are being increased by, having new tax laws come into place?
Yeah.
So I do think that it's always important for entrepreneurs also to be involved in the conversation of policies that create either a favorable environment for the businesses to thrive or an unfavorable environment. Because that has a direct impact on how you're going to scale your business and what the impact of the business is going to be in the economy. And then, at the end of the day, no matter what business you're running, you're selling services and goods.
Absolutely.
And that's all that the tax laws and everything, that is what they affect. So, for example, I'm assuming somebody that is in the fintech space and they're doing InsurTech, for example, there is a new bill on insurance payouts that has a tax obligation on it. I'm sure that's going to have an effect on how you do your headline numbers on payouts, right? So I do think that those are some of the things that need to be put into consideration as policies are being passed, because they anyway have an impact on how the business gets set up and even how you just price your products across.
Yes. And that's very important, because if you think about it, and you mentioned something very important with insurance, right? So assume here I have an accident, or maybe I'm sick or something, and the insurance, before even it pays you, the process is not straightforward. Paying is easy, by the way. In the insurance, you go pay your money on time, but claiming it, actually, sometimes it's really crazy. And then here, the government wants a cut on that. It's really sad if you think about it, because I'm sure they tax even before you get a cut, right? It's not like the money that insurance receives is not taxed. Maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but even when you are getting paid, you get taxed. So, and it's very important that most organizations should be intentional about getting involved in the policy making, because that's where the crazy stuff happens. You remember the ICT bill that was pushed before Uhuru Kenyatta left the office, where, without degree you should not get a job. Can you imagine how weird that is? Yeah. Well, I have a degree myself, but I was like, no, that's unfair, because someone does not decide not to get a degree. Yeah. There are so many steps that make someone to be self-taught, especially in software engineering, and become really good. It's more actually than even getting a degree. So there are all these, and this brings me to another question before we have not finished university, guys, so relax. The question about how the government is actually taking care of the people who are in business versus the people who are civil servants. Because there are so many things that have happened in few months that the new government come in place. Number one, there is now the 3% of housing. 2, they're saying everyone should pay tax, including people who are doing online jobs, which people are asking, like, we buy the electricity, we buy the internet, which is taxed. We stay in a place, we pay rent, which is taxed. And now even the money that now remains after that, and we buy stuff here in Kenya, right? You need also to tax that, right? And the question here is, will you be able to build an economy on taxes, on taxing people? I know you speak to the president. I will get to that, guys. So don't worry. Yeah. And I think you should also maybe listen to this and try and get a few pieces of it.
I think there needs to be a balance.
Yeah.
Because, there's a big part that the digital economy is playing. There are many, many people now that are employed in the digital economy, working for companies abroad, doing all sorts of jobs. From what do they call it? Managing online content, moderating, I think that's what they call it. To working online telesales jobs, influencing, I think it is important for everyone who is working and earning an income be taxed.
Yes.
And the government is figuring out, how do we tax this whole new crop of people who are earning good money doing these jobs online, which is one part of it. I think the other part of it is for the money that these guys are earning is still being spent in the same economy, right? So how do you tax people but incentivize them to continue hustling and bringing this income into the economy and making a living? So I think there's also a risk of overtaxation that does not incentivize people. And at the same time, we need to encourage the digital economy, not discourage. And what happens when taxes are imposed without really thinking through how these taxes should work. I'll give you a typical example within MarketForce. Is us guys run an e-commerce business. But all e-commerce businesses are not the same. There are businesses that can generate 40% margin, gross margin. Others will generate 5% gross margin. So you cannot wake up one day, and that's the problem of the policy makers, not even being informed, just doing things for them. You can't just wake up in it one day and say, we will impose 1.5% tax on all sales generated in e-commerce. It's...
And in some market, actually, you're paying tax in that market before even you get that 5%. So maybe you're not even getting the 5%, right?
Precisely. And the goods you're selling, in some platforms, you'll have service platforms where there's no physical good that's attached. In our case, you have physical goods attached. These goods are available. So I think there needs to be a lot of thought put behind taxation. Taxation is important for any country to operate. But it needs to be done in a more
consultative manner and informed manner. So, Chief, you wanna chime in?
I think first of all we're definitely not tax experts.
but we pay tax.
But we pay tax. So we have feelings about tax. I think that I understand where the government is coming from. in terms of, if you look at, our tax income versus our debt obligation,
Yeah.
There is a way in which it's not sustainable, to just continue borrowing money to
sure.
run the economy.
Yeah.
So we kind of need to increase
The collection.
our tax earnings.
Yeah.
I think the bigger question is how they are looking to increase the tax earnings. Because I think that there is that, as Tesh mentioned, risk of overtaxation. I think one of the things I don't really like about the current tax bill is actually how it's been messaged in some of the things. For example, that those that have jobs are paying a certain tax to make sure that those that don't have jobs are surviving.
Yeah.
I don't think that that's the right way of messaging anything. It's like saying that I'm going to take off from your work and benefit from it.
Yeah.
Because what that actually encourages is
laziness and content.
apart from even laziness, it's more content. Like, I'm waking up today so that somebody can spend 3% of my money. You're discouraged to pay tax. So I think the government needs to be working to improve the trust of those that are currently paying tax. First of all, making sure that the tax is well utilized, and then responsibly taxing.
Yes.
And I think part of responsibly taxing is about understanding, how are these people actually earning? How is this business making money? What does this tax obligation actually mean for the business? Is it even going to be able to operate? Because I was discussing with some other entrepreneurs, about this 3%, for example, bill. As you know, it's a very hard economic time for everyone, including employers. And some people have already cut
especially in tech, it's not very.
Downsized the teams. Now, if you think about it, a 3% increase may look small for an individual, but it's not for an employer, right? Headline number on your costs. And, it's not just that. The other tax, increases will affect your cost generally. So, if you're looking at a hard economic time, increased tax, the reaction of some of the people that cannot absorb that cost is going to be right sizing. Again. Because if a company is spending 100 million on paying employees today, they're probably not going to look to increasing it from 100 million to 106 million to accommodate the new taxes. They're just going to cut the headline numbers and keep it at the 100 million. So what you've actually done is you've put many Kenyans into the unemployed space by taxing their employers more. So you've effectively reduced your tax base going forward.
You have created more unemployed people.
So I think that the government really needs to be thoughtful about how we are increasing the tax base by not overtaxing and also putting in measures that are creating a better environment for people to generate more income and pay more taxes.
And in addition to that, after taxation, being accountable about that tax. Because I think even the biggest problem also lies in how do you spend our tax? You have seen a receptionist who owns, I don't know how many apartments in some place in Kilesha, right? You've seen, and they arrive at work using chopper, and that's a receptionist.
I haven't seen that.
In our biggest NHIF and NSSF, right? I think it was there a few years, and there was some proceedings around it. So we need to be cognizant that this is not the first world economy. We might say we are middle class and stuff, but we're not yet there, right? And we need a lot of prudence in spending people's tax to get there. And not even the entrepreneurship to drive to the stage of, competing globally, right? And I'm not talking about this about just Kenya. I know this actually might be the case in all other 54 countries, if I'm not wrong. So in one or the other, maybe we need to revise how we look at taxation and spending that tax money. But now, you guys, we were where you were in school, you met, started doing business. And then you build a tender platform which flopped, right? Face first. What next for you guys? What was next after that? Experiencing your first failure. Before even I met you, right? that's the time actually I helped you. I helped Tesh. Yours was just straightforward, right? This chief, it was not that straightforward, right?
No, we're dividing and conquering. So I came to look for your votes. He was looking for votes elsewhere.
But you are one team, right?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you guys even started partnering in leadership, in politics, in campus. Nice. Nice to know.
We were voted in together, yes.
Nice. So you guys, when you were voted, what do you consider the biggest achievement, like in that 1 year? It lasts 1 year, right? Yeah.
Us guys, we like to refer to ourselves as underdogs because
we
were vying against we were second year students. We were vying against third year students who had more influence.
Yeah.
But somehow we just did the hard work.
Yeah. You guys worked hard. Really hard.
We really fought for it, and we went around talking about our manifesto. And we ended up clinching the seats. And it was a great experience. We leading at the university. And then when we cleared the university, we started another startup that was called Cloud9 in the travel space. So really what we were doing is putting all these leisure, adventure activities online for people to book. So,
but before that, Tesh, I remember you guys were incubated as one of the 9 startups. Which one was it? Was it Mesozi or was it Cloud9?
Tenderpreneur.
It's the one that died.
What was the name of the company though?
Tenderpreneur.
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 I would like you guys to share that experience now that I'm sitting on this side of the table.
Of the incubation.
Of the incubation. How was that? Yeah.
No, it was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was a very good experience. It was in campus. Had a team of people that had been out there like yourself already. And then there was a lot of talent at the C4D lab in terms of engineers, people you could tap into the likes of Nanda.
Prof Nanda himself.
Yes. And I remember that time also like senior people in the game like Sam of Chura and his team. So I think for us it was a first step into really the entrepreneurship world and getting to interact with other people that are trying to scale their businesses and teams outside of campus. So I think it was an important experience in terms of learning how to actually even build a team, build a product and sell.
So you guys, you created some of the nuggets that you got there, through that incubation process. Because I remember that's the only actually, we were talking earlier before we started the podcast, the only cohort that graduated from C4D. C4D Lab stands for Computing for Development Lab at the University of Nairobi. And most of those guys actually are really doing well. Some of them are movers. If you don't know, guys, I was telling Tesh before you arrived, there's Mover Studio, there's Chura, which actually now is like 3 startups. There's one for FinTech by Samuel. There's you now, guys, who are MarketForce. There's another guy who used to do animation and graphics. Now he's in Ireland doing really well. There's Farm Drive. We were saying the lady went to Harvard. Now she has graduated. She's going to come back and do that. So the future looks bright for those 9 guys, for those who I remember. I know there are guys who are doing IoT. For those one, I don't know how it went out there. But I would say if we have more of those, even for the university, even public universities that we have around Kenya, there would be more actually happening in the ecosystem. And I've met guys really who are really smart in places like Kisii University, Maseno University. And at the back of my mind, as much as I could not do all these, incubation spaces, I would encourage maybe the schools to start now venturing into this, because if you look, this chief, he will tell us how the Stanford conversation went. But I was in Stanford the other day, and the biggest thing for Stanford, MIT, I don't know if Harvard has an innovation drive, is the innovation that actually makes them actually drive, and people even love to go there, because someone goes there, first year, second year, like, I think I can do better in Silicon Valley. Maybe I don't need to be here 4 years, right? The network I have here is enough. Maybe I should start venturing into entrepreneurship. and the cycle goes on and on and on, and it has been going on for hundred of years, right?
Yeah.
Some of these places, yeah.
Yeah, I think that the incubation layer, more so at the university levels, is super important when it comes to nurturing and growing talent.
Yeah.
Because that is just the time, where people are not yet really into the outside world, and the black tax is not yet, on their backs,
kicked in.
so much. And it's really where you can nurture talent immediately and be able to graduate it into products. And I think when you look at the schools you've mentioned, I think Tesh and myself have been lucky to go and speak at Harvard, for example, the incubation lab. Look at what the presentations are.
Yeah.
I think that, it's important that all the other campuses also emulate a similar structure to C4D lab.
Yeah.
And even I would challenge the government to invest more, to actually give resources to the universities to invest in this, so that they can get more professional people to run the labs instead of just having, the lecturers, kind of double up as the guys. They can get more help from other people in the ecosystem.
They be intentional about it.
Be intentional about it, because we could nurture a lot of talent and investment from, from running those hubs more properly. Yeah.
And I think, just to add on that, I think it's about the practical learning. Because if you can remember, this one and one of the reasons I think C4D Lab, if you look at those startups, it looks, the people are still doing good today, is because you needed to be a student, but you needed to have a venture.
Yeah.
You needed to be thinking different.
Yeah.
And that's why the people who ended up in C4D Lab had, that kind of entrepreneurial mindset and are still doing great things today.
Yeah.
So the thing about incubation is tapping into talented people early and exposing them to what's possible or what what needs to be done. Yeah. And the practicality is in the sense that they're actually running ventures.
Yeah.
And then learning. I remember you guys used to bring
entrepreneurs in the ecosystem.
Already doing it. And
every Friday we used to run ideas, and people could critique them, could add value into them.
Yes.
It was fun.
Peer-to-peer learning, yes.
Yeah. I remember actually one of the things that I regret not doing is I think there's a time you brought somebody to talk about crypto.
Yeah.
And it was very, very early in the crypto days. Arts guys only walk up to the crypto thing 2 years later. It's like, I had this thing at C4D. I should probably have acted on it.
It was from, I think, Senegal or Ghana. And that's how Africa is, actually, guys. If in this ecosystem, and you guys have experienced it, like you find Africa becomes smaller and smaller as if you are doing the right thing, right? But go ahead. You're talking.
So, I was just talking about adding on to the value of such platforms. For me, the keyword is exposure. And that's more and more I keep talking about, even looking at our education system. If people can be exposed to computing, exposed to entrepreneurship early, then you know what's, because you don't know what you don't know. So you find that there's a lot of lost opportunities, lost talent, because they weren't exposed early enough, and that's our work.
So do you think also even Africa's Talking tried to start AT labs? Okay, not try to start it. There are some companies actually also that came out of there. Do you think also maybe even tech companies should start exploring that, whereby you have an innovation hub that is, and Stanbic actually we partnered last year. They also had an innovation hub, which was really interesting to me to see even a bank taking that route. I don't know what's the plan for that for 2023, but if all the companies that we have here that are, would say successful, if they had an innovation arm where they take in startups, they take in ventures, because also I know also there are companies that take ventures to kill them or take and steal the idea. That we have seen it, right? Take them and nurture them, because at the end of the day, the reason why you can do this is because you're okay, right? And if you really want to use their solutions, reward them really well to an extent that they grow, not just kill them. Do you think, guys, this is something also we should start exploring as an ecosystem?
And I think talking about the hub space, I think that probably the best way to do a proper hub will be to embed into, it has to be, multiple partners.
Yes.
Embed into an educational institution like the University of Nairobi. I think I've seen that even with the likes of Harvard and Stanford. The hubs have actual partners, industry partners.
Yes, yes.
So, instead of AT, MarketForce, Stanbic, whoever else doing their own labs, we embed into an educational institutional hub because they have their talent and the people that are hungry to be able to be nurtured, but get the professional guidance from the people in the industry. I think it will be a successful hub than when everybody's trying to do a hub, and then it will also remove that risk of what you've said, like most of corporates don't have the trust more so in this market to actually develop and graduate ideas into proper businesses, because they actually don't have the time to invest in it if it's not a profitable venture at the start, or are looking at it from the angle of, is this competing with our business model, or what are the impacts that has. So an independent institution like an educational institution whose main job is actually to nurture talent will be a big will be a better place to actually house a hub and then have very active, so the word has to be very active industry partners that are then embedded into that hub and can help grow the hub.
I actually agree with you 100%, because of course for the reasons that you've put on the table, and also have an acquisition and investment pipeline coming from the industry to make sure that not only do you incubate but also you accelerate, right? And by the way, acceleration is something that people are trying to move away from because of the controversies around it. Because there are people asking, are you giving enough for these people to accelerate? Are you milking enough for just to churn out? There are all these controversies around it, and maybe you guys will share at some point your experience with Y Combinator, which is one of the most successful. Is it accelerator or incubator? Accelerator. Okay, so you guys finished university. How did you do? Did you do well enough?
Well enough.
How did you do?
Our listeners, if you hear someone has done well enough, they have done well enough. So you guys graduate, of course, which is really interesting. What do you explore? The hotel venture, Cloud9?
Yes, that was the main venture we were exploring post-graduation. So Cloud9 was fully bootstrapped. So we ran Mesozi as a consulting company. That's how we generated income. So
Mesozi was bread and butter.
Yes.
Then Cloud9 was exploration.
Exactly. That was our going to the moon.
Because I saw you guys going to Uganda, I was like, these guys are doing really well with this Cloud9.
Yeah, so Cloud9, we launched in a couple of markets, mostly in Eastern Africa, going into Southern Africa. We had hundreds of experiences.
So how did you launch this? This is very interesting. Did you just go and host events, or how did that work?
Ground zero. We started by doing things that don't scale. So we would put together, a group of friends. One weekend, let's go GP cutting. The next weekend, let's go hiking. And they would pay something for the experience. But the whole idea was to scale it up. So have these experiences available online and provided by people who are not us. So I would really compare it to Airbnb experiences. So we're doing Airbnb experiences before Airbnb experiences were a thing. It was the first venture we wanted to raise funding for because we knew we needed to invest in acquiring customers and growing it. But it was very tough. Funding was elusive. We really bootstrapped.
Is that what took you to Lions Den?
Yes, took us to Lions.
How was that experience, guys? Do you think we need more Lions Den, or it was,
It was okay. I mean, any opportunity where you can connect great ideas with capital, I think is a good thing, and I'm sure many have benefited from Lion's Den experience. But for us, I think that's where we really even learned more about building scalable ventures, and also because it was the first venture where we were seeing real traction. It's just we really struggled raising funding, but we were very lucky because we got an acquisition offer while building it, which we took because at that point we had just started going into 2018. We had just started building MarketForce, and we knew we needed to focus on one thing. So we took the acquisition offer.
Ah, nice. How much was it? Oh, it was undisclosed amount of.
It remains undisclosed.
Oh, really?
But,
there's no a figure around it. It doesn't have to be exact.
We did not get rich.
But you guys did raise some good amount, right?
It was a fair acquisition.
Do you know why I'm asking this, by the way?
Why?
I want us to get away from where, how did you do this? Like, I did it. That does not really tell me like anything. I want us also to. There's someone maybe who is bootstrapping something, and even you can even delve into like how is that process of like pitching to these clients. Then what is that wins that you got from there? Is it a network? If you did not get the fund, what was it? You get the partnership, as you said, you got acquired. How was that process?
I think seeing a venture from inception to a point where it is of enough value that somebody else wants to, take it up and build it for whatever reason is very. It's a big step in an entrepreneur's journey.
Yeah.
And if you observe a lot of great entrepreneurs, likes of Elon, Musk, and many others, had that opportunity to build something that was sold. As much as that was not the main success, they went on to build other things. But you learned so many lessons, and I'd say that's what Cloud9 was for us. It taught us how to build a marketplace. How do you connect? Demand.
You guys had a marketplace.
It was a marketplace. We're linking people who have experiences, destinations. So if you want to book a skydiving experience, GP cutting experience, hiking,
you get the list of these guys.
Yes, you'd find it on our platform. And how do you source customers? How do you, link demand and supply? Make those transactions go through your platform. Take a cut. There's so many experiences. Building a team. Raising funding. How do you package your story? There's invaluable experiences that came out of Cloud9 that, to be honest, have enabled us to build MarketForce to where it is today, because MarketForce is a platform. But we just leverage all of those lessons to move on. In terms of the exit, also how does an exit process look like? How do you negotiate?
Like I was asking, just pause a bit. I was asking if I'm on that table and someone wants to acquire me, how does that look like? Please.
It's I think first it's an emotional experience. In a good way and a bad way, because in a good way, you're like, okay, I've built something valuable enough for somebody for it to attract interest. On the other hand, it's why you're selling. It's because you've gotten to a point where you feel somebody else can add more value to it than you can. And in many times, especially in early exits, like our case, we're not selling because it was a very lucrative opportunity. We're selling because it was the end of the road for us. We couldn't see ways in which we could add any more value, especially without having the right capital injection, etc., to build it. So in that sense, that's a sad part of it. And you have to trust somebody with your baby, and you don't know what they're gonna do with it. But
some acquisition, you don't have to be out of that company. You can still be part of the company.
Ours was structured differently because we had 2 other partners in the business. One went on to continued running the business.
Yeah.
The other one went on to start a different business.
Yeah.
We went on to focus on a different business ourselves.
Yeah.
But the business is still running.
Okay.
So at least we've seen it continue to grow.
Yeah. Booking.com are the one who acquired the company?
So they're called HotelOnline.
Oh, okay.
So it's a Pan-African travel tech business.
Nice.
That's growing.
There's this chief I met in some place in California who is schooling there from Tanzania. And he told me actually he want to come back and start, venture into hospitality business. And then and when I thought about it, actually, it's an untapped market. And you guys are just touch a bit of it.
It's massive.
Because think about tourism,
After agriculture, tourism is
it's
the
huge.
highest grossing, like from a GDP perspective, for countries like Kenya.
Yeah.
Tanzania, as mentioned,
Yeah.
it's massive in tourism. You go to West Africa, you go to Egypt, South Africa. Tourism is a high income earner for a continent, beautiful continent. So that's why we thought it was a big opportunity in the first place.
Yeah, the guy is coming for summer. Maybe we should meet him, and guys can share nuggets.
Let's have a drink.
Because it's not for Africa. So, were you excited as a yes? This guy is so observative. So, were you excited? You tried to talk and you couldn't see anything happening. Were you excited that you have built this platform? Now for an engineer it's different, right? How was it for you?
I think given that also we were trying to focus, always doing two things at the same time is difficult. So, for me, the excitement was that, at least one way or another, we get to keep this running. So, that was exciting. But, of course, you always have that feeling of loss because you're giving, you're giving away what you've built over a while. And, just given even how we were building it, it was, an interesting experience because we would eat our own food before we asked other people to eat it. Meaning like we would go for the experiences, have the experiences, take the pictures that will go onto the website, tell the story of the experiences ourselves before listing the experiences on the platform. So that was kind of the loss that we felt, by the sale of the business. But, as Tesh has mentioned, it was an interesting experience on how exits actually happen.
Now I have to ask this. What was this garage that you built this solution at?
We've had many garages.
Which one was interesting?
My story is at one point, the journey was so hard that we rented out a one-bedroom apartment that we shared. So one day, Mesongo would sleep on the couch. The next day, I would sleep on the couch. And, I think that's one of the experiences that really built our friendship because it was a very trying time. We had looking at our peers who were classmates 2 years before in campus, and they were working for the Microsofts of this world. Grossing when it comes. And the two of us were trying to survive on $1,000 a month. I think that's part of the experience that really shaped us. So we've had a lot of highs and lows. At some point, we rented a 3-bedroom apartment.
The whole team or just you?
Oh, just us. But,
so the other guys would just come during the day and...
Not even during the day.
There was no
day
one
and night. They would come and we had a dining table like this where they
that's where the boardroom was.
Yeah, that's where the boardroom was. They would come and code all night and you want to take a nap. There was a mattress on the sitting room. You'd take a nap and go back to the desk.
How many hours you guys could, go straight working?
We never used to count. The reality is you don't count. You do the hours that are needed. Needed to be done.
We had and we're working 2 jobs. Quite literally, we're running a tech business that's consuming cash. And doing other hustle, designing software
projects that are being
That's our bread and butter. So the grind was real.
Was it Was it important to do two or both of them? Or?
That's essentially how you bootstrap.
Yeah.
I haven't really heard of another bootstrapping formula.
Yeah.
Like when you have a venture that's not net positive, I mean the whole has to be filled by something.
Yeah.
And that something is always it's what your hands can do.
Yeah.
If you can do consulting, if you can do
employment, side projects.
So for us, what we knew how to do well was the consulting gigs, doing websites, doing systems for
other companies.
That's how we used to keep the lights on at Cloud9, and even the early days before funding for MarketForce was the same journey because it wasn't a net positive business. You find side gigs or software projects to that will generate income for the business, and then that's what you pay with the employees. That's where you eat from. It's like everything.
So what you're trying to say in a nutshell, if a guy is out there employed and they feel like, I should start something, they should not be afraid about, doing it while doing the other one. They just need to commit some more time in doing it, right?
Yeah. There's no shortcut.
Yeah.
You just need to put in hours because there's no way you will, earn your bread and butter, your rent, and build a startup. You can't. This is Africa. Like saying I have 12 months or 18 months of savings stacked up. Is in what world?
It doesn't mean much.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that. So
and if one guy wins, it's like a whole community wins. Yes. So there is black tax, as you say.
And I think this is one of the most common questions we get. How did you do this? How did you do this? There's initially,
it was tough.
It's still tough. It's still tough even today. You have to put in the hours. You have to put in a lot of work. But that was the biggest differentiator in the sense that people want or imagine, because that's what we see online on media. It's very glorified. People see the success, but they do not realize the amount of work it takes. Mesongo and I we're relatively young because he just turned 30. I'm turning 30 in about 2 months. And it looks like but we started doing this 12 years ago. It's not been started hustling in campus. We learned so much, throughout that progress. Throughout that process. So somebody starting out a business at 27, you have 3 years of entrepreneurship experience. Right? Like it makes a big difference.
True.
But that's the side of the journey that most people don't see.
And that's why I actually had to ask, because
I actually wanted
people
to
just see the other side. They don't see the struggles and everything. Go ahead.
I think I also wanted to say thank you for the way you're doing the journey. Because we started with how we grew up. And everything. Because I feel like one of the things that's never done well on this whole entrepreneurship circus is really the journey, because most of the times it's just the headline news that most people get to talk through, which do not create a reflection of what the real journey is about. And this is not to say that entrepreneurship is tough or it's difficult. I do believe that anything that you're doing that's important is always going to take a lot of hard work. But I think we just need to shape differently how we tell the entrepreneurship stories so that we're able to go deeper and share the realities that are there. But I think generally the thing that I believe, and I always tell Tesh that this entrepreneurship thing is not really about a specific destination. It's very important that you enjoy the journey.
Absolutely.
Because as you go through the journey, the problems we faced in Cloud9 are not the same ones we faced in MarketForce 1, and not the same ones we are facing today. They will always change. Entrepreneurship is about being a problem solver. With all these new problems to solve. Always a bigger scale. That one I can always guarantee.
In Africa, it's all about solving problems. There are places where people start solutions, not based on problems, based on things to do, like how can I do better music, or how can I do better software. It's not a problem. It's like, how can I do something better?
Enhancement.
If you think about it. But in Africa, and this is something that I reiterate again and again, is that Africa, we have so many problems to solve that even we don't have time to say, I want to do a better MarketForce or I want to do a better Africa stocking. You can only solve so many problems in Africa without exhausting them, even in our lifetime. Yeah, so it's a good thing that you guys enjoy the journey in it, because if you don't, actually, you can give up really quick. Especially in this ecosystem, it's tough. But even coming back to the point that you mentioned about, going through the process, is that before I started this podcast, actually, guys, one of the things that I realized is that there's no one podcast I can listen in Africa and understand the process. That was just the drive. Like, I want to listen and hear if someone is in Lagos, how do they build A, B, C, D? How is Lagos itself, right? Because you can hear Lagos from the Afrobeat. You can also hear another Lagos from FinTech. You can hear another Lagos from Yahoo Boys. It's the same Lagos. Yeah. But there's someone who will tell you, out of all this noise, this is how I made it, right? And you can understand, even me from Nairobi, if I want to scale in Lagos, I have to appreciate these factors that is part of the process. Yeah. So it's very important that, we go through that. And by the way, if you're just joining us, we have Tesh Mbaabu in the house, the CEO and the co-founder of MarketForce, together with Mesozi Collins Sibuti. I don't know if that's how it's said, but he's the CTO of MarketForce, joining us today and sharing their journey, as well as talking about tech and entrepreneurship across Africa. Now, you guys, just immediately after Cloud9, you started MarketForce, or it was something you had anticipated to build as you're building Cloud9?
Yeah, so MarketForce is a project actually we started working on as part of our consulting gigs that we were doing.
I hope you guys didn't steal someone's idea.
No, as we were building Cloud9 experiences. Okay. So we met a client that wanted a solution to be able to monitor the activities of their sales agents in the field. As you know, if you're in the field of credit or insurance or banking in the African market, you always have a lot of sales agents in the field that are day-to-day getting customers.
Yeah, the foot soldiers.
Yeah, the foot soldiers, as they're popularly known. And then that's how you kind of create a pipeline for customers that you then convert. So that was essentially the genesis of what we call MarketForce One. So we ended up just building a Salesforce tool for such customers to use to be able to see what these foot soldiers do on a day-to-day basis. So the solution will be able to tell you when the person went to the field, how many people they talked to, what products those people are interested in, and then end up doing like the origination. So if it's insurance, you will submit an insurance form on the application. If it's credit, you will submit, the credit origination form of how much they want in the loan, what's their ID, where are they employed, how much are they earning. So all that origination work. So we scaled that business across East Africa using the partners that we had early. So the kind of engagement we went into was consulting as a SaaS platform. So instead of charging them for the development, we developed the solution and gave them a SaaS agreement because we, having known what we knew.
So initially they came in like build us this project, but after venturing into it, you're like, we should.
They didn't even know what they wanted to build. Actually, they just came in with a problem. Like we have field, we have people in the field, that we need to kind of manage, and we think that a software solution can help with this. So we prescribed the solution. So we had something in place already that we went and presented to them. Then they said, okay, these are kind of the changes, the way our business runs, these are changes we will need on this solution, for you guys, for it to be able to solve our problem.
Oh, nice. And when you presented this as a solution, how was the uptake from the customer and also from the end users?
Yes, it was an interesting development journey because at that point we were essentially co-developing with the customers in terms of developing something, taking to them, getting feedback, going to the field, interacting with the actual end users of the solution, getting feedback, building. It was a lot of work building.
Yeah.
We still needed to bootstrap, because we were building a SaaS business, and we kind of required a lot of manpower to again build the solution before we could realize revenues from the SaaS solution itself. But it was an interesting experience given that we were building with the customer.
Kind of interesting, but my question would be, did you also build this also having the side hustle, or now things at least were looking good, there was traction?
So we still needed to do the other stuff we were doing as consulting work.
Yeah.
Because in a SaaS platform, until you get the scale that's required, you will not be able to meet your bills.
Yeah. But what was your vision besides just building some platform that will serve your customers? What was the vision behind it?
Us guys, we kept building with the mindset of we want to build something impactful and scalable. So in the midst of building this platform, we kept getting exposed more and more to the opportunities around retail sales distribution. We realized, okay, this is how sales is done in Africa. Okay, financial services. If you look at fast-moving consumer goods, which is what we focus on primarily now. It's the same process. So I think the point here is, while you're building, you need to be thinking about or zooming out every once in a while into opportunity, because you can be digging hard every single day without stepping out to look, what does the industry look like? If I'm going to make something big, at least what we knew is we wanted to make something big, something impactful, create jobs and all that. And this is sort of a process that enabled us to connect dots. We had built a marketplace. We had, built a team. We had exited a business. Then you have this experience where you actually have paying customers, and you can see other people still on the same solution. So the light bulb moment came. I can't even remember the exact day, but we thought, why can't we package this thing that has been adopted very well by this company into something that other people can also benefit from. And that's how MarketForce was born. Funny enough, even MarketForce itself, the brand, we didn't sit down and call our product.
The next question I was like, where did you come up with this MarketForce and then MarketForce 360? Because there was MarketForce, right? And then it metastasized to MarketForce 360?
It's the other way around. So it was MarketForce 360, and then
now it's MarketForce. Okay. So please tell me about
that. This journey can confuse you.
Yes.
I think it was MarketForce 1.
Yes.
So, maybe I don't actually remember how we did it, but it was it was MarketForce 1. And then we dropped,
why was it MarketForce 1?
It became MarketForce 1 after we formed MarketForce 360. So what happened is we built the product for financial services. So the company was just MarketForce. Then it started as just MarketForce because the client started calling the product MarketForce. We asked them.
It's the clients who came up with the word MarketForce?
For the product. Okay. They liked this engine we had built for them.
I see.
And they said this thing is a MarketForce. It's a MarketForce.
And you guys adopted that.
Yes.
But what did you call it yourself? Or just you built a platform for retailers?
We were calling it Mesozi SFA. It was just a product. It wasn't something we thought of scaling.
Okay.
So we hadn't started thinking about, sexy names and stuff like that. So when they called it, we're like, that's actually a very nice name. So MarketForce. Then we went into the FMCG industry because we got demand there. And we said, okay, when they explained the problem, they said that we need 360-degree view of our sales cycle. So we said, okay.
You just
so
pull that MarketForce.
And then we add. So this was a customer-driven process.
Okay.
From the product to the branding and everything. So we said, okay, 360-degree view of your sales. So we called the second product MarketForce 360. So it forced us to think about, okay, how do we brand the first product? So we branded the first product MarketForce 1.
So these are two different products, MarketForce and MarketForce 360.
Yes, they're for different industries.
Oh, for different industries.
Yeah.
Okay.
And mostly because the process of sales in the financial services is a little bit different from the process of sales in the FMCG.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, because, in the financial services, it's more about lead. It's lead generation. You go to Michael, you ask Michael, do you have insurance? Says, no. Can you get insurance? Yes, blah, blah, blah. And then it ends up in a conversion. In the FMCG industry, you are selling physical products, actually.
Yeah.
So you can, in the financial services, it's actually services.
Yeah.
In the FMCG, you are selling physical products. It's water.
Yeah.
Do you want water? There's nothing like tomorrow or today. You don't generate leads. You generate actual orders or sales.
Yeah.
So, the FMCG industry, you go to Michael's shop.
Yeah.
You say, I have a carton of water. I'm selling at 100 shillings. They either buy or not.
Yeah.
So that process was
But now
quite
there's
different from the financial services process. So we actually did, from a technology perspective, we had two workflows, two different workflows for those products. Yeah.
But they could not intermarry where maybe I say I want to get stuff on credit or, I want to pay later. I want to,
So those things have intermarried now.
Oh, okay. I see.
They have intermarried
Like
now,
if you guys didn't see that, then there's still an opportunity.
Yeah, that's opportunity we saw. And then now we ended up rounding it up as we just MarketForce. And then MarketForce has multiple products within.
Okay. Which products do you guys have?
So we have MarketForce 360, MarketForce 1, and Reja, which is the B2B commerce marketplace, where now we went a step further and enabled these shopkeepers, neighborhood merchants, to order for inventory from the customers we were working with, FMCG, the brands, and at the same time access financial services from MarketForce 1 customers. Yeah. So we went full cycle and built a platform that encompasses all these players in the retail value chain for both consumer goods and financial services. Yeah. And that's the product that we ended up scaling.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you guys acquired a company in Nigeria?
We acquired a company in Kenya called Digituka. They're building a couple of financial products specifically for the neighborhood merchants. So for us, it was a way of time collapsing, which means we knew to build the same set of products, a wallet for the merchant to store their money, get access to loans, sell financial services like airtime, etc. We knew it would take us 12 to 18 months to build. So we decided let's acquire a company that's already built. All these services.
Do you raise funds by then or not yet?
2021 we had raised, we're just closed our $2 million round.
But before that, because this is something I wanted you guys to share, you are joining Y Combinator, right?
Yeah.
Please share about that, because there's so many guys. Does it work? Is it the face value? Is it ulabalu that we see, or is it really a good process for an entrepreneur to look forward to qualify?
I think I always say, at the end of the day, numbers never lie.
Sure. Yeah, for sure.
I do think that out of the accelerators out there, Y Combinator does a very good job in what they do. Yeah. And the numbers are out there to show it. I think they have a number of companies that are valued over $1 billion. Yeah. A lot of them above $100 million dollar valuation. Yeah. And they've shown over time that given the number of companies that go through the process, and even just before that, the number of companies that they speak to before they onboard people into the YC program, they kind of have an idea in terms
of what they're doing.
Yeah, not just in terms of what they're doing, but what it actually takes to grow a $1 billion company. And I think the biggest thing you get out of YC is, the network.
Yes.
And very good at telling you the things you shouldn't do.
They don't tell you what you should do more.
They tell you what you should do, but I think that for me personally, the learning I took is really like they have a very good idea on the things that will kill you.
That's very interesting for an entrepreneur because you're learning as you go.
Yeah, sometimes what I do to succeed might not be the same thing that another company has to do to succeed.
Yeah.
But remember that the things that you will do that will kill you, even if you do a new thing that will kill you, but the ones that killed company A, there is a very high chance that if you do the same thing, you're going to die.
Kaka, you're scaring an entrepreneur out there.
No, I'm just saying and that's why there is the saying that, do not wait to learn from your own mistakes.
For sure, that's a wise person.
Yeah. Learn from other people's mistakes because, for mistakes, there's always the assurance that if you do the same mistake,
fall in the same trap.
Yeah, you're going to fall into the same trap.
Yeah.
The formula to success is not out there. People will have to do different things to succeed.
Yes.
But the formula to failure.
Yeah.
The formula to failure has been defined a number of times.
So are you saying Y Combinator gives people formula to failure? So that
what I'm saying is they have a very good idea of what things can kill you quickly and how you should avoid them.
And this reminds me even at C4D I used to focus more on what you should not do. I don't know, for some reason.
Yeah.
And guys, actually, there's some guys who didn't take that nicely, but anyway, it worked.
Yeah, so that's one thing, and then the other thing is the networks you get out of YC and the kind of community that they build is superb.
Now, how do they do this? Do they have entrepreneurs who have gone the journey? Do they have investors who have the experience? Do they have trainers who really have gone and researched and studied about different tech ecosystems or entrepreneurship journeys?
Sorry to interrupt. Yeah, one of the things I realized is all the venture partners at YC were operators, have built businesses.
So there's no ulabalu because you have some billion somewhere, you want to come here and tell Mesongo how you should build MarketForce.
No theory. All these guys have built businesses.
Okay.
Fairly large businesses. One of our YC partners had sold his business to Autodesk. The likes of Sibyl, Twitch. And these are the guys who you're interacting with, for 3 months, and they're pushing you to do the right things. They've narrowed it down to a couple of things that prove product market fit, prove team fit, and you have to execute on these things week on week. And they push you to achieve or to make those things happen. Whether you need to pivot, they give you the confidence to make that pivot. As Mesongo has put it, you're just learning from the best, quite literally. I think that network and those kind of people, they're not just people you walk into in the streets. And I think that's that curation of the YC experience is what makes it produce very successful companies. Flutterwave, Paystack. That's a couple, those are examples in Africa, and if you think globally, Airbnb, Stripe, multi-billion-dollar businesses.
So how much do they take, and how long is the application? The process.
The application is very short. They take. It's changed over time. In our cohort, 7% for $150,000. Cash, I think now they are doing up to $500,000. Similar stake, I guess. Application is quite straightforward, but after the written application, you get to do an interview. And after the interview, you get a yes or no. So it's also the process is very well refined.
A lot of guys applying that process, and very few actually make it.
It's harder than getting into Harvard. That's what they.
Did they say that?
The numbers. They don't say the numbers. The numbers say it.
But you guys could easily make it to Harvard.
Mesongo maybe.
No, guys, you could make it. You could actually make it to Harvard. You could make it. Anyway, you guys may laugh about this, but I can assure you that. And one thing I discovered actually in my recent ventures is that Africa, we have the smartest minds in the world. No joke about it. It's just that we don't have the platforms. And that's why every time I see young guys or even old guys creating platform, I'm so excited because the platforms matter. You might be the smartest guy ever, but without platforms, chief, in Korea, you could not make anything. But the platform brought you here, right? So imagine if you were in somewhere else in the world. Just take a guess. You could be amazingly good because here there are guys who start coding at 9 years old. When even you don't even think about it, get your next textbook.
And that goes back to exposure, right?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Super important.
So exposure and platform, play hand in hand to make sure that you explore your talent early enough and all that. Imagine if Africans got that. Because you guys went there, you're like, cream de la cream, right? Across the world.
That thing is also happening in the world of sports, right?
For sure.
I think there's a coach who was saying if these Africans weren't selling their players to European clubs, they'd probably be winning World Cups.
Absolutely.
Very talented.
Absolutely, yes.
And we can see in Kenya our very own marathon. Now we're seeing 100 meters.
That tells you a lot.
Top of the class. And
even when you go to that Harvard or MIT, for your information, the smartest guys are from Africa.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe not, but but it's proven and tested. But besides that, are there companies that go to Y Combinator and they realize this is not it?
I think. Everyone will have a different experience.
Yeah.
But I do not think that it would be fair for somebody to say that they didn't get anything out of YC.
No, even not getting anything. It's like you realize maybe we overshot. Maybe this will not work. From maybe this is not the $1 billion idea. Maybe it's $100,000 idea.
In fact, I think that's one of the biggest values of YC.
Yeah.
Really quickly you learn if your idea can work or it can't work.
Because I feel from that point now you don't waste time with one idea. You can pivot. You can decide, okay, maybe I should try and do it better, or maybe I should even just close it and maybe focus on other things. Because that's also valuable if you think about it.
Yeah, I think in the cohorts you also realize there is second time, third time founders that have been through YC before and shelved the idea because of one thing or the other. Okay. I think they also invest a lot in identifying good and great entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
So sometimes the idea might not be so great.
But
they will help you discover that.
Yeah.
But the entrepreneurs are, tenacious people, so they will always go back and do other ideas. I think it's,
So you guys acquired Digiduka. Then which other acquisition did you have? Or was this immediately after Y Combinator or?
It was one year after. So we did YC in 2020.
Okay.
We acquired Digiduka in 2021.
Okay. Had you done your first round or?
But raised $2 million at that time in 2021 when we did the acquisition. Then that was before our Series A in 2022.
Yeah, but I hear also raising the funds there at Y Combinator is not a child's play.
Oh, it's not, because your investors, money is not infinite, right? They will listen to a batch of, I think at a time, 200 companies, and they need to decide. I have $200,000 to invest. I have $1 million to invest. Who am I putting it into?
Yeah.
So I think that it's very competitive in that sense.
Yeah.
And it wasn't easy, but it was a great platform for us to meet and many other investors and go into as we raised our Series A later. Yeah.
So that actually culminated to your Series A. You could reach out to some, investors.
We
the network.
A very strong network of investors as well through the process.
And how do they do dinners? Do they give you a list of how does this network work?
You're digging into the source. So we so we are the first fully virtual batch 2020 because of COVID. So our experience was quite different from many, I'm sure, because all our meetings are online. There's no opportunity to build that personal rapport. So it's about how you sell your story online. But at the end of the day, we had the connection. That was the most important part. Okay. You had the opportunity and the list of all these guys. We still do have access. Once you get into YC, there's a platform called Bookface, which is
okay.
all the YC founders, all the YC
Interested
investors,
alumni.
Yes, alumni. You can reach out.
Very nice.
So
very
and
nice,
that's why I think Mesongo said the most important part about YC is network.
The
If you can
network,
tap into that, massive opportunity.
Yeah. That's very good. You've answered it really well because there's a point I wanted to bring across. So you guys, do you see the importance of communities?
Yeah.
Because that's just basically a community if you think about it.
Takes
it's just
a
that
village.
absolutely. And the reason why this is very important, especially in Africa, is that communities are a thing. There's no single country you'll go that they don't embrace community. And I feel like, or maybe you guys can tell me, do you feel you're really building now the new communities where people can come together? And I know you guys have done an amazing job on curating some fund that you can invest in startups. Do you think we can do more? Or that's not the case?
I mean, it's not like, I wouldn't call it a fund. It's personal monies here and there.
It is a fund. It might be 100K, but it's a fund, right? Or that's pocket change.
No, it's
CSR.
It's not pocket change. But,
of course.
we're excited about that because that's the opportunity. Outside building what you're building, and the real impact is in how you can pay it forward.
Yeah.
And, we do spend a lot of time with other founders.
Yeah.
We've invested in about 15 companies now.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Together, and mostly, Kenyan companies, entrepreneurs who look like us.
Yeah.
And have gone through the process we've gone through.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah.
And we feel like it's one of the best ways that we can give back our knowledge or experience, so that they don't make the same mistakes that we made or we're making.
Yeah.
And that's been great. And also to give credit to the guys before us.
Yeah.
Guys like Sam, leading 80.
Sam Gikandi himself.
Sam
Wherever you are, Sam, shout out.
Yeah.
Did he encourage you in this journey or in one or the other?
I've had a couple of conversations.
Yeah.
We treasure that, the opportunity to learn from those who've been before us.
Yeah.
Our chairman, for example, founder and Ken Joroge. He's been also very, very helpful in telling. It's he's walked the road.
Yeah.
And many, even as we go through the challenging times, the markets have turned. But just like it's a very grounding experience.
Yeah.
Being able to have somebody to reach out to who can give you advice. Right?
So do you think? Before even I go there, how much does it take to join these? What's the name of the startup investing car?
It's still Mesozi.
Mesozi.
Yes.
So it's a Mesozi fund or Mesozi investment.
We call it Mesozi Ventures.
Mesozi Ventures. How much does it take? If there's an entrepreneur,
how much do we invest?
No. If someone wanted to join and become part of the fund,
invest as well.
Yeah.
We haven't accepted anyone into the.
You have not.
It's not a real.
But I saw a platform. The reason why I'm asking, I saw a platform. I applied. I don't know if you saw my name, but I never heard of. It's not open
as well.
Yeah, you had a platform, right, where someone who is interested to invest could, write details there, how much they want to put in.
Oh wow!
There's a website I saw sometime.
We do have a platform that where we listed the companies, and we. Like, I think one of the biggest values is we've spent time building this network. Yeah. Our team, investors and all that, and even companies, clients. So we just link up these companies, these founders to people who are relevant for them. But we haven't opened it up.
Okay.
And it's a side gig. Like
no, I'm just saying, if you guys had opened it,
you would invest.
I know a couple of people would put in. As much as people also are like, these guys are doing some pyramid scheme here. So there's that, but of course, there are guys who would really, because if you look at our ecosystem, even in Africa across in different markets, people would rather buy land, right? And it's just you buy and it just stays there. It's just land, right? There's no value, you're not farming, you're not doing anything. But if there was a platform where people could put in money and there's clear structures to manage that venture. And I know Nigerians are doing really good on that.
I think there is a platform like that, not Mesozi, but our chairman. They have started something.
Who is your chairman? You know, when you say chairman in Nigeria, it's a whole different
board chair. Ken, they've started Pani. They have a venture platform. Where they're bringing together, the people that you're saying that don't want anymore to invest in land high-rise building, and you want to believe in the next set of entrepreneurs. I think
is there
for
like
those interested, we can
cut-off line? How much you should go in?
I think with as low as $10,000.
$10,000?
Yeah.
Okay, that's not bad. Yeah, I know a couple of guys.
Invest to a fund,
yeah. So I'll do an introduction for you, and
please, yes.
You can do an introduction.
Yes,
of
when I make it, I want to invest in startups. When I make it,
and I think that the platform they're actually building is not for when you make it. It's for
when you
us.
have made it.
No, it's for us. You are making it.
Okay.
As you are making it, that's why it's
part
very
of
accessible.
It's part of what will make you make it.
Exactly.
No, let's do the introduction, and then because the good thing is this platform is that I meet a lot of great guys, living out there, and one of the things I want to start is if we put our hands more together, there's more that can come out of it, right?
Yeah.
So and I believe in like all of us can make it. There is no doubt. We just need to be open into holding someone's hand or holding someone's hand. You can be holding on the other side where they're pulling you, or you can be holding where you're pulling up, right?
Yeah.
So I want to talk a bit about being the CTO who builds a company that scales. How does that look like?
I think it's a lot of unknowns. Sometimes, I mean, you don't know what you don't know, because the thing about scale is things are always different the next day.
Yeah.
So one of the things is you have to be highly adaptable to change.
Yeah.
And also, just be able to, build, create your systems so that they're kind of elastic, so that they can always absorb new shocks. And by systems here, I mean both from a platform perspective and process perspective, so that, it then makes it easy for your team to adopt to new changes. So, for example, when you're building a platform for the Kenyan market, and then in 2-3 months, you're in 3-4 different other markets, speaking different languages, you need to change some processes because, some of the processes just don't work for that market. You have to have built a base, that you can stretch to adopt new processes that then can be adopted in those new markets. So there is always a set of unknowns in the future. I think that the best thing you can always do is to build a base that you can stretch to absorb a lot of the unknowns that are going to come as you scale the business.
So is that from even, the software itself? Is it from the documentation?
I think it's mostly on, the core of the software and the processes of how you build on top of that.
Okay. Chief, how is it meeting people on the ground? As a CEO, you're there, you see how it's working, establishing that, is this the right market we have, scale to, meeting different African, cultures and perspective. How is that for business?
Yeah, I think that's one of the most important parts building a business, staying connected to the people you're building for, your customers. It's a lesson we learned the hard way when we were building Entrepreneur, where you're building very great idea, makes a lot of sense on paper.
Yeah.
And then in Kenya we say vitu kwa ground
different. True.
When you
true
go,
that,
when
yeah.
you go,
Yeah.
when you go down to where it matters, you find that what you're building doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So for us, it's been important, and I probably one of the reasons MarketForce has been able to get to where it is now. It's just that focus on understanding who your customer is
Yeah.
and why your product matters for them. How do you improve? And that applies to the team as well, spending as much time as possible, because for us, one of the things we did, when was it, last year, was we inverted the organogram, because we realized in an organogram, the people who visually look like at the bottom should actually be at the top, because they're the closest to your customer.
True,
they're the closest to the person who makes your business thrive.
Yeah.
And that's made a big difference for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with that, have you ever encountered where I know you still make the hiring decision, and you hire the wrong guy, and you're like, oh my goodness. And how did you go about that for a startup, rather? Even you, Chief, you can chime in.
It's been
you guys have never hired a wrong guy like this guy. Oh my goodness.
No, I think that's one of the things everyone does.
Yeah.
Wrong could be for various reasons.
Yeah. Mostly the culture fit.
Yeah. Mostly culture fit. That's a big one.
Yeah.
But I think what's very important about that and many other mistakes that you make, because that's just one, is confronting the mistake early, and boldly.
Okay.
It could be making a wrong hire.
Yeah.
Could be choosing a wrong partner, choosing the wrong technology. It could be many things.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, these things, the only way to correct is to fix. So I think initially one of the mistakes we made is we just keep hoping. Hope is not a strategy. You keep hoping that things will improve, this person will change.
Yeah.
But you need to have substantial not only belief, but logic on why you believe there's a change could happen.
Yeah.
If that doesn't exist, then you just confront the mistake you made.
Yeah.
And fix it.
Yeah. So that's a good approach. You want to?
Yeah, I think what's always important is in a company, and also it's very difficult, is at the end of the day, a company is a living organism.
True.
It has to have a DNA.
Yeah.
There is a way it behaves.
And it doesn't change.
And, the DNA of that organism is always driven by the leaders and the founders in that essence. So when you look at how that trickles down to, the entire company, is you have to have defined, what your DNA is like for anybody coming in. I think that then the next thing to do there is to put in mechanisms or have ways of identifying people that are not fitting into that DNA culture, whatever you want to call it, properly. And you just need to communicate in good time, as Tesh has said. Like, you need to fix the thing as early as possible, because what normally ends up happening, and this depends on the level with which you bring in this person, is they will be leading a change in the DNA that's not good for the overall health of the company.
And there's a question for Tesh here. What are the measures do you put in place as a CEO to make sure that, before even fixing, you avoid maybe some of these mistakes? Because now as you grow, of course, a lot of things actually start moving, and to some extent, you can't control some of those things. You can only fix them. But are there measures that you put in place to ensure that, if it's hiring, if it's tech, if it's even sales, if it's businesses that you partner with, are there measures that you put in place for that? as a startup?
Yeah, I think one of the things as the founders is important
Yeah.
is being very clear
Mm-hmm.
on the vision and like why I was about to say vision and mission, but I felt that is very old school. But it's important because why do you exist as a business in the first place?
Yeah.
So that's number one, because that should drive the decisions you make. Then the second thing after that, defining that, is having or bringing on board a team that believes what you believe. It doesn't mean that they don't confront things that they think are not, you're not aligned on.
Yeah.
They do, but I think that's part of it.
Yeah.
But just having people who believe in the future that you believe in, the reason you're building. And then the third step is creating an environment where people are able or open enough to share with you what they think can be better, or what can't be better.
Okay.
And that combination of things, I think, enables your startup to thrive.
Yeah.
Because, again, just going back to the initial concept I was talking about, you'll find that your colleagues, just by virtue of being more connected to the customer, depending on what industry you're in, will have insights that you don't have. But if they're afraid to talk to you as a CEO and tell you, then it's recipe for disaster.
For sure.
Yeah.
So you want to chime in on that, or? I know even a CTO is a CEO of the tech side of things, right? For you, is it the same, or just build, get shit done?
No, I think even the way you build your technology, right? It has to be with the customer at the forefront, right? Because most of the times, if you build something that's not helpful to the customer, the end result of that is very little to no adoption.
Yes.
So, the customer has to take the center stage. And as Tesh has said, the only way you get proper feedback and timely feedback of what the customer needs is, the team needs to believe in what you're building, and they have to be closely knit for that communication to trickle down. Yeah.
So do you think you have done justice to retail market in Africa through MarketForce? Or there is more?
We are doing justice.
Oh, you're in the process. Okay. So I'll ask now controversial questions. So there's this narrative where when you raise funds, as you guys raised, and by the way, these are not just ordinary guys who are listening. So they're the guys who raised $42 million just a year ago, right? There's an analogy that once you raise that kind of funds, you lose you lose the touch of the business. Number one, there is some percentage you lose straight up, right? Two, the hires who are brought to your company, and they come as strategic hires from the investor. Was that the case for you guys, or what do you have to say about that?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
So, first of all, we did not get any strategic hires by investors.
Yeah.
We personally, Mesongo and I interviewed or agreed on who we felt was the next right hire to have in the business. We built a team that we respect a lot. Guys who understand their stuff in whatever space it is. So that's been great because we've got to work every day.
So there was no recommendation from the investor like, you guys, if you hire so and so, you're going to achieve.
Their recommendations is okay, but I can't say there's any hire that was brought on board as a condition to investment.
I see.
No, not at all. We built the team with people we thought were right for the business, and we believed in, and they believed in us. So we've been privileged in that sense. We've worked with people we respect a lot, and we have enjoyed that experience. We've learned a lot from them. They've they've complemented our skills, and honestly, but I think one of the reasons MarketForce has gotten to the scale it has today wouldn't have been possible without this team. credible people. In terms of, how it's been raising funding, it's been a very, I'd say, eye-opening process.
Yeah.
Because again, you don't know what you don't know.
True.
So when you're used to managing $4, and then you need to manage $40 million.
It's crazy. Man. It's crazy. Yeah, I can only imagine. $41 million. Is it 42? Almost $43 million.
In total, since its inception, that's how much it raised. But the Series A was $40 million.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a lot of ups and downs, even through that. That raise itself, because some of the capital that was committed and signed didn't come in as expected. But it's part of the learning process.
True. But this is a very important thing that you have said. So if someone commits capital and you agree they'll take this amount of shares, right, or percentage, does it change if they bring lower, or because you need the money? You're like, okay, it's okay,
No. So it's you get what you pay for, not what you signed for.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
Where did you learn this? Is it from Cloud9, UI Combinator?
I mean, like running a business is many things. So that's legal stuff that you get to learn in the process. But I think what's important is just through that process, we've continued to narrow down more and more on what matters at the end of the day.
Yes.
And for us, one of the main things that come about is at the end of the day, business is about serving a customer, solving a problem that matters and getting paid for it, building a sustainable enterprise. And on top of that is, again, why did you start the business? Started. Us guys, we know why we started. We wanted to create jobs. We know that's one of the biggest challenges we have in the continent. We saw an opportunity in a space that's largely digitized. Our background is computer science, and we love technology, and we wanted to build products that work in the African context. We've managed to do that, get tens of thousands of users on our platform, which has been exciting. It's quite fulfilling to do that, create hundreds of jobs. It's been quite fulfilling to do that as well. And that's why what Mesongo said is really important. It's the journey. You appreciate about the journey. Are you proud of what you're doing every single day? It doesn't mean there's not going to be challenges. Some challenges you expected, some you didn't expect.
You learn as you go.
You learn as you go. And you keep the fire burning. You fight where you need to fight. You celebrate where you...
You guys have fought, huh?
Celebrate. We have fought a lot.
We are always fighting a lot.
What is
that
thing that you remember? This one really pambana, for lack of a better one.
So as a business, you mean?
Yes. Is there someone who came in and wanted to take away the business? This happens in this ecosystem, actually, as young as it is.
I don't think we've not had that kind of experience. Somebody wanting to take away the business, but we've had partnerships that didn't work out. And then it's always challenging, to move on from such things. You invest a lot into the partnership, but the end result is not what you expected. But I wanted to talk a little bit on the funding side and how generally that has shaped how we think about the journey. I think that now during this time, a lot of startups and success in startups has always been measured by how much capital
you raise.
I think that, and this is challenge also to media. And I said this in a previous podcast. I was in, and more so the ones that are shedding light on the African startups. I think we need to change the yardstick and start measuring startups on the impact they're having in the ecosystem.
For sure.
Because, when you think about capital, it's just an enabler. How you use that capital to, grow your business is a different thing. And that can always be measured by the impact that you're actually having in your space. Because when it's all said and done, I would want MarketForce to be, measured from the angle of, how many merchants did we, impact in the journey, or how many merchants are we serving?
Yeah.
How have we improved their business? What services are they able to access from our platform? Because that then shows the use of the capital that you've put in place and the team. Because, capital is one thing, and then how you use that capital. And
it's a whole different ballgame.
It's a whole different ballgame. And also the team that you get in place to, move your business from one stage to the next.
Yes.
Even affects how well you put that capital into place. So I think we should start as an
embracing
ecosystem,
that,
celebrating that impact more,
than the fundraise. But this is very important because you see we are a young ecosystem, right?
Yeah.
5 years from now, that will not be the narrative whereby, who raised what. There will be no other. Like in San Francisco right now, how much money do you need to raise to get anyone's attention, right? It tells you, right? But the reason why this is very important, even the reason why I'm covering this, is because there's so many people who want to raise funds because they feel like, hey, Tesh and Kolo here raise funds, right? Maybe we need to raise funds, but that's not the solution. It's good that you have pointed that out clearly. And this drives me to the next question. Which are these collaborations that you have had that really impacted the business and the clients?
I think for us, the things that have always worked out are the ones that we do with other startups in the ecosystem. Our experience with corporates has not been very good so far. There is one that's in the pipeline that, I'm hoping that it works out.
Yeah.
But I think what I've seen collaborating with other startups, those things move faster.
Chief, do you have pointed a very important point that I've been trying to put in people's mind for the longest, because startup, mostly you have the same struggles, right? Yeah. And maybe you are struggling with the resources at the same time, right? But corporate and startups, they're like, one is up there, the other one is down here. So even reasoning is really hard. The others who are ticking KPIs, the others who know that maybe next month we don't have the rent. Maybe next month we might not be able to meet people's pay slip, right? So it's very, very important that startups that is coming up and also chasing corporate is quite expensive if you think about it. And the biggest corporate in any ecosystem is the government. And you know how that ends, right? And I'm telling you this even from Africa's talking experience. Sometimes it doesn't work the way you expect it. But when you work with startup, as you said, there's more win for everyone. And also there is even beyond the transaction, there's also knowledge share that actually goes a long way beyond that transaction.
Yeah, and I think for me, in those collaborations, the two key learnings have been, one is for partnership to work is both of you must have the right incentives in the sense of both risk and reward.
Yeah.
I think the reason why it doesn't always work with most corporates is they do not have the same risk appetite. And the reward to the corporate is not also, what can I say? It's not as significant.
Yeah.
To the reward that a startup will get.
Yeah.
When it's two startups collaborating, those two things are matched. When the partnership works, the reward is huge for both of you. When the partnership fails, the risk is huge for both of you.
Okay.
Now, when you look at it from a corporate's perspective, if the partnership doesn't work, the risk for them is always little.
Yeah.
Because, if for a startup, for example, you're investing $10,000 into this partnership, both in human resource and maybe other things that you need to put in.
Yeah.
And a corporate is investing $10,000 in this partnership. Like the risk of losing $10,000.
That's the money that they can lose.
Yeah, it's like In fact, they just look at these guys are non-existent.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
10,000 you're somewhere misplaced in their books.
Yeah.
In your books as a startup, it's that is super important.
They call it operational cost. It's not even an investment. Operational cost.
Petty cash.
Yeah. And then when you look at the reward side now, this partnership works really well.
Yeah.
And you make each $100,000. On the corporate side, is like $100,000 is other revenue.
Yeah.
Other.
Yeah. Crazy.
On the startup side,
Yeah.
$100,000, is depending on your size is revenue. It's not
It's a
under
lot.
other. It's
Chief, that's
core
what
revenue.
celebrate is like saying, guys, stop what you're doing. Let's celebrate.
Yeah.
We made $100,000.
Yeah.
And then the number two, also from observation, is sometimes you collaborating with the corporate, but the collaboration is not under their core business. For you, it's under your core business. For them, it's not under their core business.
Yeah.
So that always influences how it goes. So you are again in other business lines.
Yeah. I see. So how has it been scaling in Dar as opposed to Lagos or Nigeria market? Dar is in Tanzania, right?
Yeah.
Because those are I find those two market interesting. It's like Ethiopia and Egypt. They're also interesting markets in Africa. If you hack one of those, you can hack the other one. How has it been?
Yeah, it's been quite different because culture is quite different.
Yeah.
In a lot of these markets, you have external environment. If you talk about tax,
Yeah.
if you talk about what do they call it? Inflation. Now, for example, in Nigeria, the cost of fuel went up by 3x overnight. What does that mean for us for logistics? So it's we've had to adapt to the different markets through the talent we get into the markets to work with us. We've had to be very localized in our approach, not assuming what will work in Nairobi will work in Dar. You have to listen to what the market says and how do the people do business here. And that's been our biggest lesson from an expansion perspective. Listen to the market.
I see you guys have an office in New York. Is your product also there, or?
No, our product is just in Africa, but we do have because we're a US domiciled company. We have to have some form of physical.
Another controversial question coming through. So I heard there is an amount that you raise in Africa and you have to have an office in US.
I
Maybe it was not packaged like that, but there is that also, which I have nothing against having an office in US, and there's so many advantages if you look at it actually. But also it feels to so many entrepreneurs like it's a control mechanism in case like someone doesn't believe in African market.
I think I understand the question you're asking, and I think it's a topic I'm also passionate about, because the reality is capital has control. Let's not
There's
assume,
no free lunch.
Yeah, let's not assume that capital doesn't have control. So the reason why most startups have to have like a US address or something somewhere outside Africa, it's always to give investors comfort that there is some security to their capital. Just because of how sometimes our African governments behave. So,
right.
Like it's
a twofold actually.
It's
if you think
a
about
twofold
it.
thing. So if you're gonna raise capital from US investors, they're probably not very comfortable investing in a company whose jurisdiction is just in Africa. Because
even for litigation purposes and whatnot.
And there is the risk of always being shut down by a government, an African government, if they just feel like doing it. Because
like it happened to Flutter with the other day. I don't know how they solved with the new government. Africa is one interesting.
So you can imagine if that way was Kenyan headquartered, they will be shut down for a whole, 3 months or whatever.
Yeah, and it's all good for business.
And there is no due process. So I think it's a form of security.
Yeah.
And the reason why you always advise to have set up in a jurisdiction where at least there is mechanisms that have been put in place to, be able, able to see that a business is well protected, hence the investments of the investors. And then I think the other thing is really, as you said, a lot of the African capital is still going into real estate and, buildings and chambers. Not much is going
into Switzerland and UK.
And and not into startups. So then who are you attracting? Like you're looking for investment. The reality is today you're still attracting most of the Western capital. And the preference is that you have structures that they understand. So it's about understanding. If majority of investors are Kenyan investors, then having a structure locally is okay, because then most of the investors understand its jurisdiction and you're attracting the local capital. But I think we're still in the phase where we are building local capital.
So there's a long way to go in this, and actually that should encourage anyone who really have some capital that they can spare for investment in tech, because tech will always grow maybe for another 100 or so years. I don't know. Now with the AI, you cannot be sure how long this is going to grow, and given that, especially in Africa where we have not solved so many problems, I'm not saying that tech is the solution for everything. There's some things that like we were talking about corruption earlier. There's some solutions that are human, centered kind of issues. But if you're looking to invest, especially for Africans, I can't speak for everyone else, try tech. Maybe if you're not, because also again it's cash intensive, maybe try to come together, and there's Mesozi Ventures where you can maybe share in the minds of the other venture capitalists in that circle, and invest. But guys, what was because I see you guys like you have just scratched the surface. That's how I feel. Like, what's next for MarketForce? Like, what's the plan, man?
We're very excited about the future.
Yeah.
Because we're solving a critical problem, and I think the reason I believe it's critical is because first dollar spent by many, if not all, Africans is on food.
Yes.
And that's what we're creating access for.
Yeah.
And if you think about the issues surrounding that, supply chain, access to financing, access to inventory, that's at the core of what MarketForce is doing.
Yeah.
It's applicable across all
54
markets.
countries in Africa. Yeah.
So the opportunity is really, really massive. $1.4 trillion spent in retail.
Yeah.
So we're very excited to continue scaling our product across more and more towns.
Yeah.
Now we've ventured into many tier 2 cities.
Yeah.
We're seeing good uptake of our solution there as well, and embedding many other crucial products that are being distributed through our distribution platform. If you think about insurance or access to finance. So we're very excited about continuing to scale this. We plan to build a wildly profitable and sustainable business the coming years.
Chief, you want to add on that?
I think that our vision is really to lead the narrative on the future of commerce for Africa. I think if you look at the numbers, over 85% of FMCG, retail, whatever you want to call it, goes through the informal sector. And our core mission is transforming that sector, of course, by using technology to make sure that we being able to offer efficient services to eventually the end consumers through that retail experience.
Yeah.
So, we always working together with the merchants, to figure out how can we help you to get your goods in an affordable way.
Yeah.
What are the other services that are critical to the success of your business and can be embedded on our platform?
Yeah.
To be able to help your day-to-day operations of your business.
Yeah.
And even what do you think your business is going to look like in 2 years, in 3 years, in 5 years?
Yeah.
So we want to be part of that transformational journey.
Nice.
Of how your business is going to look like in 3, 4, 5 years. And how does that impact your own personal life? And the reason why we're embedding things like insurance, buy now, pay later into the platform is to also, enable access to insurance, access to finance for this merchant, so that it can have an impact in their life and also help pivot their business into the future. As the core players in the distribution space. We want to make sure that we are part of that transformational journey for the merchants.
So in this case, not only MarketForce that grows, but also the users of MarketForce also grows with you. So would you say you guys are going deep rather than wider? That is, you're not looking to scale so fast in 54 countries, but you're looking to, like, if you get into a market, you're able to go to tier 2 cities, make sure that you go deep. Is that the strategy?
Yeah, I think the formula is normally a mix of two, because you can't go wide in a market before you actually understand how the market behaves. I think, as Tesh mentioned, and as everybody actually knows, Nigeria is different from Kenya. Kenya is different from Tanzania. Tanzania is different from Uganda. There is similarities, but even from a culture perspective, it's from how people just consume goods, what is the trust level, what's the penetration of technology, it's always different. So you always need to go into a market, understand the market by going deeper, and then go wide with some depth. So I feel like in this case you actually have to do both. But because to have impact also you have to be
wide. So you guys met the president of Kenya. What did you guys discuss? I don't know if you are there, but I saw this chief with the William Ruto. Is it? Or?
Oh, we were discussing the future of retail.
We told him merchants are the true hustlers.
Yes. The true hustlers, and we need to. We talked about the power of aggregation, which is what we're doing. Before, merchants would need to close the shop, go to the nearest market to find products. What we're basically saying is we need to develop aggregation centers or platforms such as MarketForce, where we can, through which we can lower the cost of distribution and as a result lower the cost of living of Kenyans. And that's something.
Do you think the guy listens?
I believe so.
From your, because even.
I believe so. I mean, we have a very strong public-private partnership with the government.
Nice.
That where we are distributing essential goods to the population. And we're doing some good volume so far. So I believe they are listening, and I'm seeing a lot of strong. The government is now strongly working with startups across various industries, from fintech to retail distribution to healthcare. That they are putting tech in the forefront of creating these solutions that will impact the masses, which is something different. It's a breath of fresh air.
I mean, but the reason even I'm asking this is that recently people are like calling him Mheshimiwa Lies. Is it Mheshimiwa? Yeah, Mheshimiwa Lies. I think he says one thing and then the next time he's saying a different thing, like even with the gas and all that. But of course, a politician is a politician, right? But the other day we were in the county and everyone is like trying to digitize everything, right? I feel like if government actually does this successfully, there's so many opportunities that they can create just by tech only. But beyond that, there's always ripple effect in African ecosystems, right? That if tech works, maybe other things can work. And I'll give an example, and you guys can chime in as we conclude. I've been to Netherlands, and Netherlands is a big farmer, just after US, right? And the reason why their farming works is because there is tech embedded. Like you can get a loan as you grow the crop, and the bank can recover the loan when you sell the crop, or when actually someone sells the product in the supermarket. That just shows you how much actually tech can become a real enabler, and that's just one industry. Now talk about automobile industry, talk about industrialization, talk about manufacturing. There's so much actually that if tech works and we have the policies that actually support that, ecosystem to work, there's so many things that could change. Because I feel for us actually Africans to get out of the hoods, we need to be producers, because we are consuming a lot. And you guys can agree, right? Most of the things we are consuming we're not producing most of them. I'm not saying it's bad to import most of the things, but also we should be able to export value-added products, and I feel like tech would really contribute.
Yeah. I think that's embedded in the core of the current government policy.
Yeah.
I think always the thing to wait for is how well they implement.
Yeah.
And one thing that I remember interestingly during the session with the Kenya Association of Manufacturers that the president mentioned is that even looking at East Africa as an ecosystem, Kenya as a leading economy should stop scrambling for just production with the neighbors. So he said, for example, he does not want to hear us complaining about cheap milk importation from Uganda. We should be adding value to our milk and exporting value-added milk out of the country, and we can consume Uganda's milk and even add value to it and export. So I think in terms of ideas and policies to grow the economy, the government has good ideas. I think the question is really going to go into the implementation of these policies. And I think, to say that I believe generally as entrepreneurs, we are here to add value
Absolutely.
to both the ecosystem and even the government by providing solutions. So just to encourage the government to involve entrepreneurs more, and be given a platform to share our ideas, and generally how we can help the government with being able to implement some of those ideas that they have. Because, for example, I think there's a very good use of technology in enabling that ecosystem of import-export and creating visibility in it, also to just show where we are gaining value, where we are losing value. So I think that generally the ideas are there. Where we might be struggling a little bit is in the implementation of those ideas themselves.
So if you're able to clean the pipelines, we could really make a good stride in that case. In that. But what is your take on AI, guys? Maybe I should ask this. What's your take? Is MarketForce embedding AI in the platform?
So we're thinking about some of the things that we might be able to do. We haven't yet started focusing on how we're going to exactly use AI, but I do think that in most of the spaces there is room to actually embed AI to improve both efficiency and speed of execution in most of the things.
And also patterns, because of course, if I think about it quickly, as you scale and as you grow, patterns will become really a good pointer to where you should focus more, or even the customer should focus more, even which goods they could really add value in their supply chain. There's so much actually that would come in that. But anyway, you are the guys who are building the platform. So you want to put something about AI? No? People are losing jobs. So something else that I wanted us to conclude with this in this discussion is to ask you guys, do you think when you because you guys have really gone into African market and tried to scale, brick and mortar, you are on the ground like, this has to work in this town, we have to figure a way for it to work. Do you think sometimes it's just people don't understand your solution? It's not because it's not for them. It's just they don't understand. They don't feel like, you're solving their problem, that really sometimes some startup could not even scale.
So I think always I always agree with this thing that says the customer is always right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think if the customer says that your solution is not working for them, you either pivot something that works for the customer.
Yeah.
And the way we do that at MarketForce is through hyper-localization.
Okay.
In the sense that, sometimes just the process of how you do things might work in Kenya, and sometimes even in Nairobi, but not work in Kisumu, which is a town outside of Nairobi.
Yeah.
So you will always find those nuances in the different markets because the culture, Africa is very culturalized differently across. So, you have to have a business that adopts to those cultures. I do not think that necessarily, for example, our solution, gets that issue of like, this is not for me, because we're serving a real need in the market.
Yeah.
But the way you giving out that solution, because remember, tech is never the solution. Tech is an enabler.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So for the merchant, what they care about is, I need to get my goods in time.
Yeah.
What are the other supporting factors around getting those goods? There is buy now, pay later. There is the insurance. There is being able to sell
transport.
virtual financial services and things like that.
Yeah.
So it's about how you're delivering that experience, and you're using technology in that. So if the customer says the way your technology is working today doesn't work for me because maybe I need bundles are expensive in my country, right?
Yeah.
Or if the payment, for example, which we do a lot of payment through mobile money, in some countries the fees are up to 3.5%, and margins in FMCG are anywhere between 2% and 5%. So there is no way a merchant is gonna be able to use your fancy mobile payment service and lose 3.5% of their margin. In that process.
Yeah.
So you have to listen to the merchant and provide a solution that works, because at the end of the day, technology is not the solution. It's the experience that you create, the technology that matters to those merchants.
Oh, you've covered it well for anyone who is starting this business. I think what's your take or final shots on this?
Yeah, I think what I'd say is, just to sum up what he said, Mesongo said, if you're building for the African market, get in the ring, talk to customers, understand what they need, and build. There's definitely a lot of opportunity in the continent and a lot of talent. But I feel like, unfortunately, so many people get caught up in the problems and the challenges. And that makes a lot of people spend time complaining, whining, crying. Instead of getting in the ring and fighting, because there is no other solution. We just have to get in there and solve the problems. So just to urge anyone who can see an opportunity, has the brain power, has the energy, get in the ring and let's build a better continent.
True. Chief, what's your parting shots?
I think mine is to say a great thank you to you for hosting us. It's been an interesting
You're welcome
discussion.
Anytime, bro. anytime. Yeah.
And we're always happy to share the journey and keep encouraging others that want to join us in changing the face of the continent.
So for me also, it's just thank you guys for honoring the invite. I know you guys are really busy guys, and it's for good, because most of the time you guys are trying to find new ways, share your knowledge, reach out to different markets. And finding time to come here, spend this time sharing your knowledge is a great honor, guys. I know you guys where you have come from, so I understand the journey is really, crazy, right? And also to say that, if you're an entrepreneur out there, you're thinking about building a business, the only way to know that it doesn't work is just to build it and it fails. And what's the worst case scenario anyway? Is just to fail and start again. And if you are doubting all this, there's Mesongo and Tesh who are saying, okay, we built the first time, it failed. We built the second time, it didn't work out. Maybe even there are other third times and fourth times, right? And I'm sure even you've not shared the journey of building side hustle projects where maybe the client is not happy anyway. But that does not discourage you from, going on and building some solution that Africans could reckon with, and it has the potential to scale in 54 countries in Africa. Keep going, guys. There's so many guys who are looking up to you. You might look like it's just a small fee, but there's so many guys in Africa. I'm not talking about Kenya, in Africa, who are looking up to you and saying like, oh my goodness. One day I want to be Mesongo. Maybe one day I want to be Tesh. One day I want to build that solution. So as you build this solution, as you go through this journey, feel like you're not just building for you. You're building for everyone in Africa. And just to wish you all the best in everything that you do, but also you're welcome here anytime. I think we just covered the first phase of this. I'm sure we're going to host more sessions. And just to say thank you. And for the guys who are listening on these Impact Masters podcasts, featuring Africa Stocking podcasts, and I would encourage you to subscribe, follow, like, share, activate the notification bell, and also comment and ask questions. If you ask enough questions, I'll invite these guys to answer all of them. We're on YouTube as Impact Masters Media, and also Africa Stocking HQ, and all podcasts channels such as Spotify, iTunes, Deezer, Google Podcasts. Check out Impact Masters and Africa Stocking Podcasts. From me, your host, Michael Kimathi, is just to thank you and say see you next time.